Music Matters. Jeff and Tim of Makeout Music. Two gentlemen I've been trying to get on the podcast for about a year, and the begging finally worked. How we doing, gentlemen?
We're doing good. Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for doing this. I was very, very excited when you said you were down. This has been like I love doing the musician ones, I think, but I think just a tad bit more recently I've been enjoying like the more industry side of ones, or like people who like kind of are on different sides of music. I feel like it gives me a different perspective. Not that I still don't love talking to musicians, but I've just done so many that I've really lately been loving like these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting a broad swath of like everything you can find in this business it's how you learn, you continue to grow. I
guess I said like music industry, but I don't really even feel like that's. I think that's a cool place to jump in. Like, you guys exist in this pocket where it's like an industry adjacent, but I feel like you're in this specifically like artist development catered side where like so much of what you're doing is about artist dev, which is a direction the traditional industry doesn't often function in now. So when do you resonate with the term like Makeout Music is in the music industry? Is that something you try to stray away from? Like, how do you feel about the labeling of that?
Jeff, you want to answer this one?
Sure. It's funny because I still don't really look at that until a bigger company wants to jump in and be like, hey, you guys take control of finding us some new stuff and developing the stuff that we have. I guess that's when I kind of figure out it's more industry. Like, we've had industry events at our space, but for the most part, we really care about the unknown and helping build out a community. Like, that's always going to be our thing, and rather than things that are already kind of built on their own. But yeah, it's been, but we do occasionally have like industry events, like, Satisfactory.
Yeah, I mean, I think just piggybacking off what Jeff said, I think oftentimes the phrase or the words music industry is used as kind of a pejorative.
Yeah.
It's like
wait, pejorative?
I'm not pejorative.
What's that word mean?
I think I meant to say slur.
It's
like used as you're in the music industry.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like a negative thing.
Like a negative connotation.
Yeah.
I think I used the word pejorative in the correct way. I don't know.
I've never heard that one. It's a cool word though.
But yeah, I think it depends on the framing of like how you say the word. It's like any word. It's like how it's framed, right? It's like, yes, are we technically in the music industry? Yes, we have all worked in various positions across the industry. We have, I mean, that's what we've done essentially our entire lives. Do we consider ourselves part of the quote unquote like music industry where it's like, oh, this is the machinery of everything of how this business works and things like that? Like, I think we do our own thing to a certain degree, and we kind of not ignore, but we look at how the rest of the world's moving, but we try and operate in our own sort of ecosystem.
Yeah. I think that was why, like, a big reason why I fell in love with what you guys were doing as soon as I learned more and more, like almost immediately. I find myself like, as somebody who's building a company, it's interesting. Like, I think of companies that exist in music that aren't like labels or management groups, like strictly. I think of those companies, they all exist in like kind of like this four-way like conglomerate of things, right? You have like the live side, you have the media side, you have the artist development side, and then you have like maybe sometimes like a production company. You can outsource whether you're throwing shows or you're outsourcing like videos, whatever it is. There's a lot of the times like an outsourced service there. Like, I've always felt like companies that exist in music in one way or another fall into one of those four buckets, and I find myself really, really being enamored by the ones that kind of like exist in multiple of those across different platforms and find ways to like make them combine. Like, for example, I suppose your guys' version of that is like you're developing artists, but you're also throwing a bunch of shows. So it's like you can book their shows, you can be their agents, you can be their managers. It's kind of existing in a whole bunch of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeff and I kind of came up at a pretty turbulent time within the music business. It was very much controlled, and I think still to a degree, in today's world, it's very much controlled by a number of gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Right? The gatekeepers have just kind of changed over time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I think where Makeout Music kind of finds itself more often than not is a place where, artist development is traditionally incredibly costly endeavor for labels and music companies.
Risky too.
It's incredibly risky. I'd say like 98% of, and this is a totally made up statistic, I just coming off the top of my head, but like I'd say like 98% of all projects ultimately fail. Like they just don't, they end up not going anywhere, not profiting, or a company sinks in X amount of money and they just don't see their return back. So we've kind of found ourselves in a position where like we need to be as nimble as we can and to be able to
like fluid, like being able to morph.
Like we're not any one set thing. There are a number of things that we can do.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I look at it is we still just do one thing. We help out these new artists, whether if it's putting on a show, introducing them to a label and helping them figure out what that looks like, helping with management, whatever. We just want to help really kind of great artists. Like we open those doors to like introduce them to like a career. So to me it's like one thing, even though we do to most it's a lot.
That's a good way to look at it, I think, because it's like multiple things but they all have one goal.
Yes, absolutely.
I think piggybacking on what you were just saying, Tim, that was interesting when you said you think like 98% of those artists, like 95% of the time they're not getting to where they want to be. I'd ask you, how many or how often do you think the reason that is because they quit too early?
Ooh, well, I mean, yeah, I think quitting too early is definitely a factor, but I also think just like, I always tell this to people that we work with, like, it's a privilege to work in the arts.
Incredible privilege, yeah.
It's not a right. No one has the right. I mean, you can like do art for fun. That's great, but like to make it a career and to like live off of your art is an incredible privilege.
It's huge, yeah.
And so like, most people, either for whatever reason, whatever path that they've walked down in life, like they just either don't have the will to continue, or they don't write good enough songs, or whatever it may be. Like there's a huge reason as to why. But on the flip side too, it's like you also have to find where your people are.
Yeah, right? That's huge.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I love the example of like Insane Clown Posse, right? Juggalos from Detroit, and they have created this insane community.
It's a cult. Yeah.
I call it a cult, whatever the heck you want.
Not like a bad cult, but it's a cult.
Yeah, but it's just like they found their people. They found the 100,000 people that will consistently, pay $100, $200, $300 a year to sustain this crazy lifestyle of making Juggalo inspired music.
Yeah,
which is it's like it was one of the first records I bought. I mean, years ago, was an Insane Clown Posse record.
Yeah,
and like I was interested in it. I went to their Dark Carnival show down in Orange County back when I was in high school, and I was like, holy cow, there's a bunch of weirdos that are kind of like me.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I didn't really go for the Juggalo aesthetic.
You didn't spiral into the Juggalo wormhole.
Yeah. I kind of pulled back when I was just like, oh, this is a little wild for me. But like, I think every artist, that's ultimately your goal is just find your community and find the people that will continue to support you with what you do.
That's huge, dude. Yeah.
And it is, I say this all the time, it's really being the last person standing as well. It's being persistent, all that stuff, like growing up with roommates who have never made an editorial, DSP, Spotify, Apple, that wise, are able to tour, and they have fans and they have people who buy their merch and get their tickets. And that's the issue with this day and age, and a lot of reason why artists quit is they see all the views and all the likes and all those things that that like to a lot, like like gets you label deals and like I just hate things by numbers.
Yeah.
It's like that shouldn't indicate whether if you're a great musician or not. What makes you a great musician is the fact that you could continue building your community.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I have a piggyback question I want to ask in a second, but first I wanted to reference this. There's a the name has escaped me and the author, but there's a book called the Concept of 1,000 True Fans, and it's pretty much this idea that like whatever you're doing, right, any artistic medium, any like creative medium, whatever it is, if you have 1,000 people that are like fans, right, and defining fans important. So like in the case of music, we'll say like they're gonna see you every single time you're in their city. They're gonna buy your merch. You know, they're gonna stream your music pretty regularly. You're on their playlist. They're pushing you. If you can find 1,000 of those people, you have a career.
100%.
Always.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And that I feel like is something I find myself telling people a lot. It's like, it's not always about this like notion that virality is going to be the thing that's going to make you a career, because virality doesn't mean money. Like, having a true fan base and a community means money, you know?
It can.
True.
Yeah.
You have to be able to capitalize, and you have to then convince those people, like, hey, give me $10 or
But there's like ways of going like a non-traditional route. You know, it's like there's a band like Cobra Man who literally the whole point of the band was they would help their friends who skateboarded music for their music video, for their skate videos and whatever, and they kind of grown an artist in the skate world, you know, got covers of Thrasher, and became a real staple to the point where, in the skate community, to the point where those skaters would go to every show around the world. They'd sell out shows 400 cap or more. The craziest part about all that, and like their monthly listeners weren't insane. I think at the time they had like 120K monthly listeners, but like all of their shit would sell out. They sold out all their merch. They sold out all their shows.
They sold out the Fonda or the Wiltern or something like that.
Yeah, bro. You know, and it's funny because the music industry has no clue who they are.
Yeah.
Because that was a world that they didn't put themselves in. They literally was like, we're going to make music for our friends, and it's going to be a great time. And they
resonated.
They really built something special. And that's like why, you know, it's like, you know, as an artist, it's not just music. Like, it's everything that you do. You know, like there's certain people who make pottery craft like Wallace did, and that's how she got connected with Portugal the Man, was they saw her pottery and then listened to her music and is like, oh, this is sick. You know, it's everything that you do artistically that you feel, you know, that just really defines you, and that should be highlighted in certain ways. Sometimes it's a superhero, other times it's just getting up, it's just who you are. Like, you don't have to put a costume on it. It just has to be able to resonate with people in a way where it's genuine.
An example of this that I used to use this like 2 years ago, and this guy's kind of changed his trajectory since then, but I used to always point to this artist named Cottonwood Firing Squad, if you guys know who he is. He's somebody who like had a career for years and years and years. Now he's a bit bigger, but like for a lot of years he was just a guy who streamed incredibly well, living in the middle of nowhere, not having really a live presence, and he was just like streaming so well that he's made a career off streaming. And that's a cool thing now, I think, about music, right, in the industry. There's so many different ways to be an artist now. You can be on that live side of things. I mean, like, I was looking through your guys' old posters earlier and saw that show you did with Goth Babe and the High Curbs and Runner like a million years ago. And I'm good friends with Ed from the High Curbs. He's a great guy. And we were
was just on the pod, right?
Like last week, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Love Ed. Shout out Ed. But I was thinking about like that kind of like Latin fronted like rock scene that's happening in LA right now. Kind of like a lot of the bands that we threw at that show we did with you guys in March was a couple of those bands.
Oh yeah.
But like that's an example of a scene too where like a lot of those bands don't have good streaming numbers, but they're making like good money, like being opening acts for tours and like just booking shows around LA. It's like there's so many ways to do this.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, I mean, to go back to your question of like why do people quit? It's also just like sheer force of will. Like you have to want it more than everyone else around you.
Oh yeah.
And you have to find a group of people around you that want it just as badly as you do.
Yeah.
Because if you have, you know, say you're in a traditional, you know, 5-person band and only 3 of you really want it and the other 2 are kind of like are like half in, half out, right? One's got a decent job, so, you know, making good money doing something else, and they're just like, oh, this music thing is like for fun. You have to make sure that like the people around you helping you create this, you know, to push you towards whatever vision or dream you have, like everyone's kind of have to be in that same kind of mindset. Otherwise it's I'm not gonna say it's not gonna work, because it has.
It's a lot harder.
It's
though.
a hell of a lot harder.
You know, that's when the talent is insane, when you can make it and not work so hard. But no, like, it's so funny. That show was supposed to be even bigger. It wasn't even supposed to be High Curbs. It's supposed to be the Beth's first show, because we did their first show as well. So the original lineup was Goth Babe, the Beths, Runner, and then my friend Brian, who's in a band called Bandy. They're playing at the Moroccan, I think, the end of this month.
Oh yeah, they're
go to that.
They're playing with oh my god, I just saw the flyer.
Yeah,
we'll find it.
We'll find it. Yeah. But no, that was the original lineup, and then unfortunately the Beths had to stay in New Zealand. and we needed a backup, and the drummer of Goth Babe, the High Curves was his band.
I didn't know that.
That was his band, and then eventually, when Goth Babe kind of took off, he went with Griff. It was Griff. But yeah, so that's how the High Curbs were put on that poster, is because it's like, oh, I'll just put my drummer's band on here.
I mean, that's another great example. Like you were talking about building a community, right?
Yeah.
With like any common thread or common interest. I mean, Goth Babe's another good example of an artist who's just gone on to that. Griff is so much like that environmentalist, like nature, outdoor.
He's
it's
in
like
his own world.
Yeah, he's built like this gigantic community of folks that just live that same way, and it's like because of that common thread, he's been able to build a fan base. I mean, and I think it's really interesting, that idea that there are like so many artists that just are like not really in the traditional industry at all. This is somebody who like, it's always appeared this way to me. I'm not sure if it's actually the case, but like Jack Johnson's another funny example where like that guy, to the best of my knowledge, like isn't really plugged into a lot of like circuits and like anything that's in like New York or LA or any of that. I mean, he kind of just lived in Hawaii doing his own thing and came up surfing and making like surfing videos.
I mean, I feel like he's probably pretty tied in with the surfing community.
Yeah. Well, he's the king of coffee table music, man. The man headlines
Starbucks.
He headlines Coachella with
He did?
Prince. Yeah, he headlined Coachella with Prince and Roger Waters.
Yeah, this was like 2006?
No. It was 2000.
That's
it was
crazy.
2008, and that blew my mind.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have a like electronic closer. It's so funny. I did a whole TikTok about this because it just like I think about it all the time, and I always get excited when I hear about Jack Johnson.
God, I love Jack Johnson, bro.
But
Who doesn't love Jack Johnson?
But yeah, Aphex Twin, Portishead,
Yeah.
there are all these bands that would be so much like crazier to see close.
Yeah.
But they ended it with banana pancakes, and that's just
Which
like
is awesome.
the most wholesome vibe ever.
Dude, I saw. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just wondering. I still like can't believe he was like Ed Sheeran big back then.
Yeah, and he still streams like crazy well, bro.
Oh, he's nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like that nostalgia factor is. I mean, I was reading, Spotify released like these data numbers. I think it was like last year or maybe 2 years ago, but it was just like 85% of music streamed on Spotify is all catalog music. It's all like old music, right?
That makes sense.
So anyone who's putting out new music, I mean, you're fighting for 15% of whatever it is that like Spotify is like has.
Mm-hmm.
It's because music is this like, and it's probably the reason why I think a lot of us get into music is like it reminds us of like these really pivotal core moments of our childhood, and we kind of want to relive that through music or whatever, in whatever form or matter that is.
Yeah.
Well, this is funny because this goes back to Griff. Griff was in the music industry before, Goth Babe, and he was really anti-labels, anti-management, anti-everything. But he realized during that process what made the most money were sync opportunities.
Yeah.
So he literally would curate these videos for these small brands, which we introduced one of them to him.
Was it what,
Ica.
Panga Drops?
Panga Drops, yeah. He did. I think that was like
Shout
one
out
of his.
Panga Drops. That's
What's Panga Drops?
It was a.
Oh, it was this
beer?
like beer bottle that was about yay big.
It was
like small.
It was like a half can.
It was a half can, but it had enough alcohol content
to get
and
you going.
more.
To get you going.
Did it taste like a beer, or it taste like a cocktail?
It was a beer. I didn't have it. I'm allergic to beer.
Damn, that's rough.
But yeah, no, it was a tiny little can, and that was like one of his opportunities of like, all right, I'm just gonna score these brands, and then he built off of that. He went from there to UNO to
I think he did like a
Panagonia to these nonprofits. Like he just did such a cool way.
Panagonia.
Patagonia. Pentagon.
Yeah.
Pentagon.
I mean, he obviously, because he also is a very like outdoorsy person. He's a mountaineer, insane rock climber and stuff like that. So like that all like the brand. The brand cohesion and synergies.
Yeah. No, it made sense. It was like this guy literally living in his car.
Yeah.
For so long.
Crazy.
And then he built a house, and the house burned down. Just, dude, Griff, if you're listening to this, man, you're such a badass, dude.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Holy cow.
I think the music industry now, because of the tools we have at our disposal, allows you to kind of really, be the kind of artist you want to be. If you want to like live off the grid, put out music every 3 to 4 months, and just kind of drop it and then kind of disappear into the mountains, like you can do that.
Yeah.
Your music's got to be good, but like you have there's a lane out there for you if you choose to like pursue that path. Is it going to be easy? No. And I have to imagine Griff went through some hardships,
of course, in
the beginning, but like he found his lane, found his community, found his, and doing well.
Which that community was just helping preserve the earth and all that stuff.
So wholesome, bro. So cool.
No, it's just so crazy. Well, but that, once again, that's like not going for your traditional listener. That's going somewhere
super
else.
Niche.
And that's kind of where artists should think about, rather than just being like, obviously it's my goal, with artists we work with, is I want to make sure that they win every other artist. I don't care about
like be your artist's favorite artist.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you do that successfully, like you're going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
Like you're going to land these tours, you're going to do, there's artists, like Alex G is that artist. Like I think this is like the first year, or last year was the first year he did a headline.
That's nuts.
He's been direct support for so long, and now he's an RCA, and he's headlining Desert Days now.
Yeah, and that leads to other opportunities. Writing, producing. Like you don't have to necessarily.
Frank Ocean.
You don't necessarily have
James
to
Blake.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to be. I mean, if you want to be a touring musician, great. Like pursue that. But there are also so many other avenues in this business you can pursue, and to still be tangentially involved in the quote unquote like music industry.
Yeah, I think the sync thing's a really good example. Like I have one friend I'm thinking of who's like, he streams pretty well. He's a pretty good musician, but he makes like 85% of his money off sync, because he syncs like really well in video games and stuff like that. And it's like you can just make absorbent amounts of money and like not have a gigantic artist project. There's so many ways to do this. Tim, we've talked about this before, but I was thinking about it when you were talking. So like being, I guess wrapping around to what we first kind of brought up, being in that place where you guys are sort of like left of center traditional industry, do you struggle with how to advise artists about the more traditional side of the music industry? And like, do you think like, because I know I think you and some other people have told me that I think this way, but I think I have a lot of biases where I come from a very like DIY background.
Sure.
So like a lot of my intuition goes to like the major label system is manipulative 95% of the time, which I do think is true. And I think like, the traditional deal structure very often can be manipulative in a lot of senses, depending on what you sign, depending on what you read. But we've talked about this before. How do you kind of position yourself in a place where, because I think you guys have done this very well, this is why I bring this up, position yourself in a place where you have the culture to where artists think that you are just cool, and like you're in a place where like you're not having to like prove that like you're not in this like traditional.
I don't think anyone thinks.
Let me just squash that right now. No one thinks they're cool.
Holy shit, dude.
But nah, I heavily disagree with that.
Sure, and those are very kind words, but I think really what it boils down to is like, look, we can. If you want to go the traditional route, there are a billion other avenues.
Yeah.
Like people that want the traditional route typically aren't coming to us and be like, hey, like, tell us how to like do this, and that. And you're like,
first of all, they go to school.
They
go to school.
Proper education.
They get a proper education. They,
they don't join the music business.
They network. They network there, and eventually they get their mailroom gig.
Let's
which
go.
Leads to an agency or a manager or
an assistant position.
And they go that way. How we got there, or how I got there, was I just wanted to try out everything.
Yeah.
Which
I think is great advice.
Because it's like I've done the live thing. That's where I kind of first started off. I did the intern thing at the labels when I was young. I tour managed. I did everything you could possibly do. And like I didn't finish school. Like I was lucky enough to get a job while I was in college in music, and kind of left that route. And afterwards, instead of like going back to school, I was just like, all right, like I just see that you need a lot of experience to get these gigs, and I just kind of built my own experiences. That's what I've done with Makeout. That's why I jump on these random tours. I said yes to everything back then. I was like, all right, like I had friends who was like, oh, like we need someone to drive, collect the money, and find us hotels or places to stay on tour. I'm like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah,
let's do that.
I think so much of it is just throwing yourself into things and then learning along the way. I think like I mean, what I like, and this is a question that I had for later, but I'm gonna say now, fuck it. That speaking from experience here, like when I started Above the Bridge when I was 16 years old, like it has been a million different things since I started it. It started as a blog. Well, actually, no, it started as an Instagram account, and then it was a blog, and then it was interviewing artists in the Bay Area, and then we started throwing shows. Now we're developing artists, and it's just like it's morphed so much over time that like I had no idea what it was going to be when I was 22 and I was 16. Zero idea. So I
don't think Jeff and I still know what Makeout music is going to be.
We're still pivoting. No, I'm kidding. We definitely have an ideal of where it's at, and we're feeling more comfortable. But yeah, it takes. You're lucky you were 16. You know, I did not have the courage to do that on my own. I was like 27 when I finally had the confidence to start Makeout music and put myself ahead over everyone else. You know, I was definitely like, because it's intimidating.
Dude, but what's crazy is like when I was 16 I felt like I was behind. Like when I started I was like, oh, I got into this way too old.
Yeah, no, that's just you.
Yeah,
that's just you
you're
in
right.
Your own head.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I started off kind of young doing like random parties and stuff. Like I like me and this random sketchy dude, like
which is the start to a lot of our stories.
I love this. So,
me and this guy.
So the reason why like all this all kind of started was my obsession for Coachella. I went 1 year. It blew my mind. I've never experienced anything like that.
What about it blew your mind?
I just
also, what year was this, Jeff?
2009.
Oh, you just dated him.
It was 2009.
You did that on purpose.
No,
Asshole.
I love it. It was 2000.
He's like, Jeff, how old are you?
Jeff and I are the same age, so.
Yeah. So he's
23.
Yeah. We're 23.
Sure.
Nice.
So in 2009, we were 8.
First Coachella, 8 years old.
No, but
rolling the whole time.
I've never experienced anything like that. I liked obviously different genres. Like I went to raves, and like that was specifically one thing. I went to like all the K-rock shows and whatnot. But I've never been in a place where it had everything, and that's maybe what started the whole like attention span of like jumping into different genres and whatnot. But like I got to see stuff in its true element with the craziest fans, and it was such a great, amazing time. And I just became obsessed with it. I was like, oh, I can't wait for next year. I want to get other people excited about it.
Wow.
And I curated this page called Indie Cella. And at some point, we had 30,000 more followers than the Coachella page itself, just because we hyped it up. Well,
this is on Facebook.
This is on Facebook. This goes back to
it's like a fan page.
This goes back to the sketchy guy. So basically, we curated this page,
and then they started your own Coachella.
And he threw these events in the Valley all the time. He's like, oh man, we just need to like get in our friends' accounts and invite all of their friends, and then get into that account and invite all their friends. So it's kind of like what Partiful is now.
Okay.
Where you just invited all your friends and you got to see everyone, and it just built that way, and we had fun with it. Like, you know, I definitely, you know, back in the day would be like, oh, like I heard through the grapevine Disclosure was playing, or like Jesse Ware or whatever, and just like keep it fun, be like, oh man. And it's kind of like what Coachella Reddit is now, and like I love that. I just love that this platform, and like I grew up as a forum kid. Like I loved being on the Coachella forum, and just like I geeked out, and so like that kind of just like, this is like what I wanted to do. Yeah. You know, like I decided like I don't want to do anything else. I just like that's, music is all like, music's my everything at this point. Even though I'm not a musician, like I can't play an instrument. I can't, but I just like, I'm just such a dork, and I love knowing about everyone. Yeah. I feel that, bro. Like I definitely started from a very similar perspective. I think it's so valuable and so obvious that you guys started as fans. I think all the people in this industry that I resonate the most, at least, are like music fans that fell into the music industry, not like business people that fell into the music industry. I feel like it's so easy to tell when you have like there's a huge difference between like a fan that became a part of the music industry and like a business person that got into the music industry. You can always tell.
Yeah, I would also say though that like, and you know, this is speaking because I come from a very different part of the music world. Like I started off when I was in college, and then went into like music publishing and all that stuff. Yeah. But like you don't last very long in this business if you're not a fan of something, right? Like we can all sit here and be like, oh well, this is why I'm a fan, whatever, but like you also can't take away the experience of like how someone else like is a fan. Yeah. And I think like people are fans in their own ways, right? It's, you know, Jeff and I happen to grow up in like the live music, like being a fan of live music at a very young age. I played music for 15 years.
Played?
Yeah, I played music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was a classically trained cellist for 15 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I played in orchestras.
So was that where his
that was my like
intro?
beginning. Yeah, I started playing the piano when I was like 4 or 5. And then I really did not like the piano, so then I moved over to the cello because my aunt played the cello, and I was like, oh, this seems kind of cool. And my first concert I ever went to was Yo-Yo Ma at the Dorothy Chandler, which was, I just like, I want to be that. And then I think you learn very quickly, like, oh, there's only one Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah.
And Yo-Yo Ma has transcended classical music now, I think. He's like, when you say cello, you kind of automatically think Yo-Yo
That's
Ma.
why we wanted the acronym MOM. Yo-Yo
Really?
Mom. Yeah. That's the real reason. No, it's not.
I was like, I don't.
You're like, oh, I didn't know this.
Having that conversation.
That's definitely not it.
That's really interesting that your background kind of came from the classical world. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
When did you? And I know you also were like into the electronic stuff for a long time too, right?
I was when I was in high school. So I played classical music for a long time, and then I had a friend of mine in middle school burn me a copy of Metallica's Ride the Lightning.
Hell yeah!
And I was like, did not know you could do this with any instrument. And then I became like a full-fledged metalhead. And I hated anything without instruments. Like electronic music was like,
that's where I was at when I was in middle school too.
Yeah, I was just like,
you guys sound like dorks.
Dude, I was.
No, super dork.
I used to go up to kids wearing Pink Floyd shirts when I was in 7th grade. Like,
name 3 songs.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hated y'all.
I know, I was a dick, bro.
Okay, I never did that.
I hate being put on the spot like that.
I
know the songs.
Dude.
I just hate the spotlight.
Yeah. No, I was an asshole. Like,
yeah. But it wasn't until I was in college. I did finish college. Jeff and I are pretty different.
You're the only man in this room that finished college.
I finished college. I went to a 4-year university, UC Davis.
Go Aggies.
Go Aggies. It was the summer of 2009, and Skrillex had just dropped Scary Sprites, that EP. And I was listening to it, and I was like, damn, this is kind of like electronic music for metalheads, because it was like it was aggressive, it was really intense and stuff like that. And at the time I was doing work with the Entertainment Council at UC Davis, which is like the student-run organization that facilitates and organizes concerts on campus. And it was like, putting together a whole band. It's like 5 different people, and there's a production budget, blah blah, all that stuff. I could just get DJs with a laptop and a controller, and that's it.
You're like, oh, there's no changeover.
There's no changeover. Like, people can just like jump on, plug their USB in, and just
go
fucking rip it. Like, that makes so much more sense. And that's kind of when I started booking bands for UC Davis, or acts, I guess. That's really when I just became kind of agnostic to like, oh, I'm just a metalhead or whatever. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna listen to everything and try and educate myself.
Agnostic's a great word there. Yeah, for sure. I definitely had a similar experience, I think. I mean, I like grew up on classic rock. Like, it was all I listened to, and like I said,
dad?
Yeah, my dad.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, my dad was like a hardcore kid growing up, and like went to all the same venues that I grew up going to in the Bay, and he was just super in the hardcore scene. And there's this picture my mom has of my dad at Gilman, or I think it was I don't know what venue is at. Some
it's probably a basement in the Tenderloin that doesn't exist anymore. Because
that was the most Bay Area reference from somebody who's not from the Bay Area. That was awesome.
My like freshman year, I did really bad in school because I just like wasn't going to class, and what I was like skipping school to take the $8 bus from UC Davis to UC Berkeley to go.
$8?
It was $8.
Oh my God, Bart is 17 now for that same thing. If you go from like,
well, I think it's that's only for UC students. Like, it's just for it's a inter-school.
It's a hell of a deal.
Transportation. Oh yeah. So I would take that. I like miss 3 days. I'd like leave school on a Tuesday, get back on a Friday, and then party with my friends on the weekend. But I would spend the week in Oakland or the Tenderloin.
How
or the
have we
Mission.
never talked about this?
I don't know.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and I would just like skip classes to go like see these like hardcore bands, and it was the first time I saw the OCs when they were in the Bay. Like, just play some random like YMCA in the Tenderloin, and you're just like, yeah, this is the greatest thing of all time.
Yeah, that's so. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah,
that's so cool, because that's like kind of in a weird way similar to like where I was at when I was 16 years old.
And it was also my first introduction to hyphy music.
Yeah,
seeing the Pack at a fucking like house party.
Yeah,
and like Lil B is just there doing his thing, and you're like,
bass god.
Okay, I don't know who that guy is, but everyone seems to know who he is except for me in this room.
Yeah, I had a lot of experiences like that in the Bay. I didn't know any of that. That's so cool.
Did you not pray?
I mean, dude, I was a metal purist at that point. I didn't know who the fuck Lil B was.
You didn't know the bass god?
No, I did not.
You didn't ask for pictures of your feet?
No, he did not.
I heard about that.
But then, actually, years later,
he's very open about that.
Yeah,
years later,
but
I
like
did a
also
show.
just being
Years later,
bit weirder than that. But
years later, I did a show with the Pack at UC Davis with Mr. Fab.
Oh, hell yeah!
Can't remember the other guy, but yeah, it was Mr. Fab, the Pack, or it was like part of the Pack. And yeah, but that was like, yeah, those were like the fun days of college.
Dude, yeah, we had very similar experiences, except like where you were in the heart of the hyphy movement, I was like in the post hyphy movement with like Pilo and SOB, and like all that shit, like in HBK, like really popping off. Like
SOB, that was such a great group.
Yeah, dude, they were so great. That is one of my favorite like what ifs.
Yeah.
SOB, they were so good. But I was gonna ask you, so going to Davis and stuff, like, was there a scene there? Because I know now, in your sense, there's been like Turtle House and like Watermelon Music and a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, there was also the Bomb Shelter,
yeah,
which was a house venue where I actually saw Head in the Heart perform before they started doing like Outside Lands and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, there was always a scene. I mean, you also have Sacramento right there, and there was a huge like punk and rock and roll scene, which was something that like. So I was a part of this thing called the Entertainment Council. UC Davis also had one of the best student-run radio stations called KDVS, and KDVS had a really cool scene as far as like, and I wasn't too like I like I'd go as a fan, but like I didn't know a lot of people in that world.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely were the ones cultivating the scene of like, this is what like cool shit was happening.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay, that's cool, but I'm gonna do all the pop stuff on campus.
There's always been like cool scenes that filter in and out of like that part of Northern California specifically, like the Sacramento Davis area.
Yeah.
And it's always had this weird connection to the Bay, I feel like. I mean, like when I was 17 driving to every random basement studio in the Bay Area to interview artists, like I would go up to Sacramento pretty often as well, and like I did a couple interviews in Davis and stuff, and there's always been this cool interlocked motion between those two worlds, I think. I want to piggyback off something you were saying earlier, Jeff, when you said that, I think you said the when music became like viral facing. When do you think that kind of turn, right, from a world where the more traditional touring route is like what you're doing very often, or the more like you're playing certain circuits, when do you think that kind of died a little bit and that turned to virality? I assume we're gonna have the same answer.
It's been dead for a while.
Okay.
It's like I worked for a company called FYFS, and like there's venues that just didn't feel comfortable doing all age shows, or like they didn't know the artists too well, so they they would literally throw shows at the Eagle Rock YMCA. That's where I saw like Julian Baker and Holly Herdison, and it's like it's always been a thing for people that just don't have those resources to like just go to a venue, and especially now more than ever with like Live Nation and AAG kind of taking everything up and kind of pushing everyone out. It's very needed, and there's not a lot of places, if you go anywhere else outside of LA or these major cities, there's not that many DIY spots that really cater to the next generation. And so that's something that we think about a lot, and we at some point we'd love to bring that in different areas that have like a great ecosystem of musicians, but they feel like they have to be in LA or New York. Salt Lake City being one of them right now.
Or
all
Nashville.
The artists.
Nashville's a
but
Arizona too.
There's Arizona. Oh my God, Arizona right now. Jesus,
huge.
Christ.
So much cool shit in Arizona.
So much cool.
It comes up on this show way more often than you would think.
Yeah. So it's just more of like. But even then, we were also very privileged. Back then, because back then, like I went to EDC when I was like 16. I went to all these shows where it's just, and rightfully so, prohibited to someone who is not an adult. Yeah. Because you deal with a lot of different environments, and if you're not there with
insurance
too. But no, it's after EDC 2010, it truly changed.
2009. That was when they did the Coliseum.
I thought the last year was 2010.
That was 2009 where that kid died.
What?
Yeah, there was like a kid that OD'd, and then they had to move it out of LA to Vegas.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
It was
so
09, 010.
Vegas is like, that's all good. You know what happens.
No, but basically that changed.
We see 9 of those a night.
No, that changed everything. And back then, it was crazy. Like I was just talking about it the other day. Like there were like clubs for kids, like spin the bottle,
dude.
And all this
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, you're the one that posted
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
Jeff.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
the one that posted stuff.
My stories went crazy the other day. I'm thinking
What
about
was the
making a
post?
TikTok. I saw that Denmark Tuesday started again, and it just brought back all
What's
these
that?
memories. Denmark Tuesday was started by Steve Aoki. He basically
Shout out Benihana.
Shut up, Benihana. Crazy.
Yes.
My former workplace.
He basically started these events in these like small clubs of LA where he invited like Kid Cudi, Justice, kind of the blog house
Bloody
music scene, Cobra Snake scene. Yeah, he'd start that, and these clubs, it was crazy. It was like 18 and up,
Dude, yeah.
and then for a full hour,
Drinks
it's
for free.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Dude,
First
that's so
hour.
crazy. I did an interview with a guy named Gerald Burkhart a long time ago, who's a really, really dope promoter that I'm good friends with in the Bay Area. He runs Brick and Mortar.
Oh, nice.
cool.
Yeah, great guy.
Great venue.
Yeah, he was like the first dude to ever give me a shot during shows, so I owe that guy the world. Shout out Gerald. But we talked about a similar thing because he's like, I think came from a similar world, and he did very similar stuff where like the 18 and up club, or it was like the 18 and up club scene in the Bay Area was something he talked about a lot, where like it was just this weird era where like you could not be 21 and you could still go to like these somewhat adjacent club events.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like as you know, I remember when we were kids, like trying to get into these shows or clubs or whatever, and now when we run our own space, we're just like, now I'm seeing it from the other side of like, oh, do I want 15-year-olds fucking raging?
Probably
in our
not.
spot?
Yeah.
Like, well, it comes with its own set of challenges, right?
We're also a lot smarter than that. It's like the people who come to our shows are, they want to see something rather than the event itself.
Right.
They're
not there to just party.
We're not partying or
Different
anything.
thing.
We're putting, and like, it's cool because like a lot of our shows that do really well are the ones that are all ages, and they're like, these kids who come for a hardcore act, and they like, are able to go crazy, and they bring their parents, and it's like such a fun thing to experience. And once again, we were so privileged to have that. And now there's not that many spaces that really want to cater to it for the right reasons.
Yeah,
but,
it's tough.
Especially if there's a bar and all that stuff. Like, but yeah, so that's kind of like growing up and seeing that, and then things changing, and it's just like, all right, like all these areas that do have all age shows, they're bringing out the best art.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Oh, that's huge.
Well,
bro.
they're first on the ground, like find the good art, and then we've positioned ourselves to, like try and help nurture those people.
The next
like,
step.
Get to the next step.
So that's kind of where we're like, it's like, hey, like we want these amazing, young musicians to come in and see these acts before they blow up and get inspired, and then they just, they want to create something very similar and or create with the artists themselves. Like we introduce people who are like, who are in the crowd and they just love the act. Like there's Ryan Barnes is a good example right now, where she came to one of the hardcore shows and she was like, I love the sound. Like,
wow,
we're able to connect. And like I heard the song that she made with Aaron, I'm like, this is your best work.
Wow. Wait, so she came to a show as a hardcore fan and then started working with Aaron? That is so cool. That's so cool.
No, we really encourage that, and that's the whole point of why we like the all age thing. It's not to sell more tickets. It's more of like we have the privilege to see something cool and getting inspired. Yeah, it's just that. So,
I talk about this all the time. Yeah, and I think that was like one. I think I just cut you off there. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just about to say is like back then. Well, like just back then it was way more predatorial and all that stuff. Like with us, it's like we really want to, it's like. We're a safe space that really cares about making sure we help preserve the art. Yeah,
and that's everything, man. I mean, I think that's so clear just in the presentation, and that was why I fell in love with everything so quickly, I think, when I first came to a show. But very similarly, like I relate to that heavily, but my version of that was like the reason, like Above the Bridge has never thrown a show that's not all ages, and it will always remain that way. And the reason that is because like I got into this so young that like I always think about like if there weren't all ages shows in the Bay Area that I grew up being able to go to, like I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So why would I rob somebody else who's 16 or 17 trying to get into this of that same experience?
Well, that's like why we wanted the acronym MOM. Is because
wow, so cool.
my mom, she took me to all the cool shows. She was a huge Iron Maiden fan, huge Metallica fan. like really loved that scene, but she didn't feel comfortable with me going by myself.
Yeah.
So she would be going with me to these shows, kind of like protecting me from like these crowds, but also like I was very lucky to see these and get really inspired by it. And yeah, that's like why we wanted that acronym, you know. And it's funny because we started off 3 dudes. We started with 3 dudes calling each other moms.
Was it you 2 and Lucas who started it?
Yeah.
Well, technically, I didn't join.
He joined later.
I joined later. Lucas and Jeff started off
Yeah.
Mom in 2016 or something like that.
Something like that. Yes, you know, and we started off as a merch company, and we were able to kind of pivot, and we're like, you know, we were throwing these shows to help the merch, and then we realized the shows were the cool part. And that's when we went back to Tim, because originally he was not down for any of that, and
I wasn't interested in being part of the merch company.
You know, so yeah, we started throwing these shows and taking these bets and like asking who people are working with and listening to, and that's how we discover all the coolest stuff. You know, it's never
boots on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, one of Jeff's pitches early on was like, we may have our taste in what we like and what we listen to, but like the best A&R you'll ever meet is the artists themselves and what they're listening to. And Jeff, to his credit, has like stuck by that incessantly over the years.
That's amazing. I mean, I would say the second best A&R you could ever find is a 17-year-old who's obsessed with live music. You know, like a random kid who's going to shows every single weekend, that whether or not it's like cool, they're just going to it because they love the music.
No, it's that. It's also like the photographers or the
like Mario
or anyone who wants
Mario's
to,
like the best A&R.
Shout out Mario,
who eventually puts out music, and you know, and like that's how we found a lot of cool stuff. Like we saw him on a phonic before he booked Remy Wolf.
Wow.
And when he played, Remy was on stage.
Sense. Yeah.
Remy was on stage to sing Carol in Your Eye, and I asked Jared at the time, I'm like, dude, what are you working on? He's like, well, I'm making music for this girl I went to high school who's from they're both
Santa
from
Cruz, right?
Yeah, they're both.
Palo Alto.
I think Palo Alto. Yeah, that's where
like
Remy's from.
Yeah. But basically, they went to the same school.
Santa Cruz, the Bay.
No.
Damn.
And,
not at all.
Well, no, I asked, but
Palo Alto is though.
Yes.
But yeah, I asked Jared what he was working on. He was like, "Oh, I'm working on her stuff," and he sends over Guy, which was like Guy's like 4-year anniversary, like 3
something
days
like that.
ago.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind. And then we got her on a show last second with our friend Albert, and we saw her open, and we're like, oh wow, this is like really special.
Yeah.
And
also, none of the bands after her wanted to perform. She played 15 minutes.
Man.
That's crazy.
She was the first act. She played 15, maybe 20 minutes, if that. And then every band after that was like, we don't want to follow that.
Yeah.
No.
It's so cool.
Well, and that happens, you know, we come across that every now and then.
Yeah.
Ari Rivera is one of them.
Yeah.
Deloitte, another one. And but yeah, it's just, you know, it's hearing out everyone. It's hearing out everyone in the room and giving them a light, not just this artist themselves. You know, it's a space where everyone can feel comfortable sharing and learning and all that stuff. And that's just what we really cater for. You know, like we're not promoters. Like I tell people this all the time. We're not promoters. In the traditional sense. Yeah. We want to, if an artist needs something, like whether if it's like a question or like a room or like another artist or another opinion, like we will always say yeah to that. You know, especially artists who play our space, like they can call me and be like, all right, what's the distribution deal like, or how are these people that I look up, what's their mindsets like? We're able to spill the tea, and hopefully they learn from it, because you know, like that's just a fun thing that we've learned while doing these shows.
Yeah, knowledge definitely should not be gatekept.
It's the worst thing in the world.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And so like for us, like it's like, yeah, use this as a resource.
Yeah.
You know, just the same way like college kids use JSTOR, you know, to find documents of whatever they need to do, looking up stuff. Like,
you
know, between Jeff, myself, Steph Hansen, who also works with us, and Max
Shout out
Floor,
Steph and Max.
like we have a wealth of information, and we'll just tell you what we know. Like, I'm not going to pretend like we know everything about this business, because I think anyone who tells you they know everything about this business is probably lying to you.
They are. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we know what we know from our experiences, and if we don't know, we could probably find someone who does know something about this part of the business that is like far more knowledgeable. Sure, go talk to so and so or whatever.
Gladly.
You know, we'll help connect those dots. Because for us, it's just like we want to see people reach their best potential.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be.
But also, it has to make sense. You know, it's like not everyone's can be like, can you connect me with like Tommy Richmond or Remy Wolf? It's like, dude, that's such
you and everybody else.
Well, no, but that's such a funny thing because I remember those times. I know well-known producers and all that stuff be like, what should I work on? And I send them over the stuff and they're like, I don't get it. And then it does really well. And then they come back and be like,
oh,
hey,
I get
so
it.
Like, I get it. And it's like, no, there's no way. I'm sorry.
Or you get it now after they've proven.
There's absolutely no way. Yeah. I can't do those. And if you're listening to this and you're one of those people, please stop asking. which happens all the time.
This is a pointed example, but just as I was thinking about it and the artist you brought up, did you guys connect Ari and Billy?
No.
Oh no. Okay.
We did not.
No, I think that was I think you had talked to Billy about Ari, and Ari had already done a session with Billy.
Awesome.
We're talking about Billy.
It wasn't even a session. I just sent after Ari's show, I sent the music to Billy, and then Billy sent me. Scratch that. Ari sent me the current EP that's out, and I sent it to Billy, being like, "Have you heard this?" He's like, "Dude, I produced this song," and I was like, "That's my favorite song." And you know, it's like with Ari, it's just like.
Can you guys just tell the Ari story real quick? I know you've told me, but I love the story so much. How you found him?
Oh yeah,
it's such a fun story.
I could do this.
Yeah, you do it.
Oh man, Art, that's just so funny. So Georgie is an artist. He has 2 E's in his name. Also very talented, really dope music. We were chatting with him about doing a show, and he's like, I'm going to leave for the UK for a bit. I want to do a free show, me and Mikey and this artist, Ari Rivera. And we're like, all right, yeah, cool, let's set it up. Like, this is easy. Like, we love your music and we love Mikey's music. And then we sent them the run of show where it's like, I think we even had Ari Rivera, Georgie, Mikey, because Mikey had the most streams and like he's done tours and all that stuff, and it just made sense. And then we get back the complete opposite. It was Mikey, Georgie, Ari Rivera, and we're like, why the fuck is this guy closing? Like, we don't know. Like, we don't know who these guys are. And we chat with Georgie, and he's like, yeah, we don't want to close to that. And we're like, what? He's like, we don't want to close to it. You know, Ari and the hardcore kids show up and they do sound check, and we were like, oh my god. That's
Jeff, we have this like little balcony thing at our little venue spot, and Jeff was up there. I think you were like messing with the lights or something like that.
Yeah, I was working the lights,
and I'm downstairs doing whatever it is that I do, and my phone just does not stop blowing up.
It's like Tim.
And I'm looking at it. I'm like, it's Jeff is. We're in the same room. Like, why is Jeff texting me? And the entire time, Jeff is just like freaking out. And like, I'm like pretty. Good. I'm trying to like not look at my phone because I'm pretty absorbed in what Ari was doing. 'Cause I was like, who is this kid? Like, what? Have we heard of it? Like, do we know anything about this person? Like, who is this person? Da 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 da. I look at my phone and it's just like 37 texts from Jeff that I have not answered. I'm just looking at it and it's just like Jeff being like, dude, who is this kid? What is this kid all about?
Yeah.
And I think from then on, you know, we've been pretty impressed by like what Ari and the whole hardcore crew has like been able to put together, and we've been huge fans ever since.
Well, that's you know, we literally looked at him and was like, choose a random date that's not a weekend. Let's do a residency, in which I thought the residency was going to be just 1 month every Wednesday.
Yeah.
But they took it a whole other way where it's like, all right, we get the first Wednesday of every month for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, we made it free, and we've, you know, waived fees and all that kind of stuff to make sure it happens. And because, you know, it's like we believe in it so much.
Just helping, again, the whole purpose of Makeout Music is to help develop artists and give them a space to like learn and grow and be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
No, truly. And that's always will be our ethos wherever we will go, which I don't know where that is. But yeah, no, we care about it so much that like, you know, it's like if we wanted to make real money off of this, we could have. You know,
yeah,
we could have.
Jeff and I always joke about. We could have gone down that like darker industry path.
Yeah.
And look, it probably would have made a lot more financial sense to us for us to do it that way.
Be a distributor, just distribute every artist stops by making music and just
make money. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, for whatever reason, Jeff and I are both pretty stubborn motherfuckers, and you know,
I feel you.
We have to do it our way.
Yeah.
No, we are. It's like whenever people throw their option, like, you know, like we've talked with some kind of bigger cats, and they're like, oh, like you need to be the face of it. Like someone needs to go on the stage.
It's part of the reason why we've never done these kinds of interviews. Is like,
really?
We hate this shit.
Thanks
like,
for doing
it. The more reason why we hate avoiding.
We hate it so much that it took a year for us to be like, all right, fine, we'll get.
You guys dodged me so hard.
No. Well,
it's not you, it's us.
It's not you, but we've had these bigger people be like, oh, you need to go on the stage and you need to do the Winston House. And you got to be like, hey, this is why this artist is hot.
Right.
The Grant Owens.
Hey, shout out Grant.
Shout out Grant. We're fans of Grant.
We are not going to
That wasn't a diss.
We are not going to denigrate our colleagues and the people.
Wasn't a diss.
But there are certain people out there that have done that kind of stuff, and I'm just like,
we're also not with us anymore. I mean, they're still alive, but they just like are not in the
Crazy
business.
way to say that.
I know. They're just like not in the business anymore because I think again that approach is not the most conducive for long-lasting.
It's not about me. It's about we.
It's like doing the Bill Graham thing.
So Trumpian.
It's not about me.
It's not about me. It's about we.
It's not about me. It's about we.
No, I'm pretty sure he said the other way. Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
But yeah, no, I totally feel you, and it's interesting because I've always heard about that, like that world where like promoters were often the face of shows, and maybe they'd curate a residency or like they'd bring these people through, and it's always been like a really weird mindset. I think. I mean, I think I came into this stuff when that was long gone. I feel like, at least for the most part. But it's an interesting route that I've never fully understood.
We're very fortunate that the show promoters that we're with, dude, we're all friends.
Yeah.
You know, we all go to each other's shows. Like it's competitive, but it's not. It's like when we see a good show, we reach out and we're like, oh, dude, that's a bill. Put me on a guest list. You know, it's
like
free tickets. Yeah, give me on that. No, we're very fortunate that we don't have like that kind of competition here. Like, you know, shout out to Minty Boy, shout out to Sid the Cat, shout out to
Incredible
Bam Bam, shout out to you.
Thank you.
Know, it's like, you know, it's just that's once again we're for the artists.
Witching Hour.
Oh my God, Witching Hour.
Yeah.
I'm so glad she's back too. My God, she almost was like, I'm out. And I was like, no, we need you.
I'm not familiar.
Come on, bro. Like
I don't know her.
She's booked
do your homework.
I know. I'm not in this shit. I guess
she's been an LA staple. She's been an LA staple for a very long time, and she's so good at what she does.
Yeah, because she started a little after us.
I think we
I actually don't.
You know what's funny? I think we all started at the same time.
Yeah,
dude.
I know. Yeah. Well, I know. UA and us. UA is a year older than us. I think.
Yeah, he started.
Witching Hour is our age. Bam Bam's on the newer side.
Yeah.
Sound and Fury. When did the?
I don't.
They've been around for a bit. Like, but shout out to all the people.
Clearly, we also need to do our own homework.
Dude, but it's so weird how like a wavelength goes through and people will start things at the same time. Me and McLean from Live 2 talk about this all the time. But like us, it was like us, Dumb Days, Live 2. And we listed one day like 4 or 5 other companies that kind of exist in a similar space, all began within 6 months of each other, which is unreal.
I think it's just like,
I mean, I think I know why it happened for all of us.
You see like there is an opening in the ecosystem, like there's a void that needs to be filled.
I mean that is why I think we all started at a very similar time.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think all those companies were born out of Lyrical Lemonade is the coolest thing that's ever existed in the world.
Well, that was like, I guess us promoters in FYFS. You know, it's like when that no longer was a thing, there are all these people who are like, man, like who's going to support?
Yeah,
who's going to support these unknowns like they did? Because they started Mac DeMarco's career to the point where they didn't pay him the last 3 years because he owed his entire career to FYF.
That's so cool that he didn't like hardball them though. That is so cool.
He literally was like, it's the point where we couldn't put him on the poster anymore. And if you look at the last flyer or the last FYFS flyer, there's like a photograph of him in the corner was the indication that he was playing. And it's like, because we were just like, you're so big, like you can't be that small of a name on this lineup.
Yeah.
You know. So, but yeah, him, like Fortet, like all these amazing people who like curated music for this generation. Like they had to do all their thanks to this festival in the way that they thought. But once again, like all these festivals, like they took all of these like other places in Europe and they were like, let's do it here. Like, you know, Coachella with Glastonbury, FYFS with Primavera, you know. And once FYF went, like I'm sure like all of us were like, hey, who's gonna fill in this void?
Who's gonna step up?
Who's gonna step up? And we're all doing it. We're all like, and it's so cool to see all of us have such success in it and have still continued doing it. Like I can't, like that's so impressive to do anything past 2 years.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is such a good goal to have, to become the kind of thing that when you go, people want to fill that void. I think that means you created such a community and such a market that like people feel its absence. That I think is the whole thing, right?
No, it's a sense of community that we're hoping to build, not just for ourselves, but the people in our own community, and you know, let them, you know, give them the tools to help, you know, have them help create their own sort of like community and environment and stuff like that.
Yeah. I want to touch on this just on the note of promoter love, but also just on the college thing. It wraps into this. Are you guys familiar with the Free the Youth guys?
No, I don't.
One of my favorite group of promoters. They just do incredible work. But
are they Northern California?
Well, Northern California and Southern California. They're just all over Cali.
Okay.
But
no, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, you guys would love them. But they do incredible work. They started out of that kind of college bubble you were just talking about, and similarly to the ethos that you guys were just describing, when you're saying like you want to be that mom, you want to be that person that like allows that person to meet the people they need to be at to make it to the next level. Free the Youth started, and their whole ethos was like taking these college bands that like were so good and playing all these house shows and all these whatever college shows, and so many of them just graduate and break up. And like a big goal of theirs, at least how they described it to me, was to like create an ecosystem and an environment for like these college bands, these college groups that like just get to this level and they break up. They wanted to kind of like supersede that and find a way to bring them into the actual music world.
I mean, look, it's tough, man. I mean, when you think about like, okay, what's my next 10 years? You know, you're right out of college. You know, you graduate with a communications degree or a computer science degree or whatever it is. You're like, okay, I can risk starting a band with my, you know, hopefully 4 best friends, and hope to scratch some kind of living, or I can become a salaryman and take a nice paycheck and like you know, maybe like get a lease on a new car, like
raise a family.
Like, you know, it's, you have, again, going back to the earlier part of the conversation, you have to want this so badly, you know, and it's part of the reason why so many groups break up, you know,
or they just don't realize what they have, like Widow Dusk. You know, like we screamed at them. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna break up. We're gonna move to New York. Half of us gonna move to New York. Half of us gonna stay here." And we're like,
weren't they like they were gonna pursue skateboarding?
We're like,
I was just like, okay. I mean, you could do both.
That's cool.
You know,
and we're like, no, don't do that. Do you know how? First of all, do you know how hard it is to sell at a show, a 200 cap? And second of all, do you know how insane it is to see people fly? To LA to see your show? They had multiple people.
There was
at the show that were.
Those were the kids that came from like Chicago. I think they came from Chicago to see Widow Dusk at our spot, and we were. Honestly, I was a little blown away. I was like, "Are you allowed to do that? Like, you look so young. Like,
are your parents here?
Like, do your parents know where you are?"
That's just kind of like, you know, when we find artists like that who are just like so passive, and we literally scream at them. We're like, no,
you can do this.
You're an artist.
Not allowed to just let this creative ball of energy just go to waste. Do something with it.
Do you know how many people it took to tell Katie Crown to play that show with Jacob?
Oh my God, that's insane.
It took like 8 people to tell her to do the show.
Blew me away.
Yeah,
she's insane. She's an insane artist, all around artist, just so sweet and so talented. But it took like 8. She told me, she's like, like 8 people like told me to do this show.
Did Jacob was he just a fan and wanted on the bill?
Jacob, it's funny because Jacob had not heard of her stuff. So with his bills, we'll like, the whole point of Digital Twang is to for us to bring something he doesn't know and for him to bring something we don't know.
Ooh, that's cool.
So like with Katie, that was an artist he didn't know at the time. He heard this stuff and he's like, oh, this is cool, and then saw it live and he's like, oh, this is great. They hit it off. They just made an insane track.
Hell yeah.
They made two tracks. They made two tracks
yeah.
off that show, and that's what gets us excited is when people who have not heard of something yet and they're like, I want to do work with them.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of Digital Twang, as much as like, and I tell artists this all the time. They're like, yeah, I want to do a show with a bunch of my friends. I was like, no, man, stir the pot. Like, bring something new.
Yeah.
Do all that stuff.
That's
and
so cool.
Bring something like unconventional to the thing.
Yeah.
And just like, so you can cross-pollinate different communities of like someone who like isn't familiar with this person, but also like, you know, they, you know, the artists have mutual respect for each other and stuff like that, even if they don't know each other.
That Katie Curran show was so crazy because I didn't know her music, but funny enough, I realized this after that Lizzie McAlpine shot the Ceilings video at this house, and she was shooting BTS photos there. So I was like, she's been to my house, but I've never heard her music. And I was like, Mario showed it to me after, and I was like, that's incredible.
It took a while for Katie to like eventually put music out because she was you know,
in the photo world.
She was in the photo world, and you know, for whatever reason, maybe she felt like she, you know, there was something, you know, I will also say artists are their own worst enemies sometimes. They just do not either believe in themselves or have whatever reason as to like not want to do something. And you know, we sat down with Katie, I want to say like 2 years ago.
Longer than that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like right after I came back from Miami. So yeah, that was like, oh fuck, that was maybe 3 years ago.
Well, no, it's crazy.
Tim, could you pass me the water down there?
It's
thanks, bro.
But that's just kind of what we do too.
Oh, you don't want it?
Yeah.
We
okay, thanks, bro.
You know, we remind artists how great they are, because there's a lot of bigger artists that I can't say their names that were like, we don't want to make music.
That's
it's
so
like,
wild.
It's like, what? It's like, and it's really about the ecosystem they're in. And like, there's been times like, it's like, hey,
the
like
music industry.
Yeah.
well, no,
dude,
they get caught up in the machine.
Not just that, but like,
it doesn't become fun anymore.
You know, there's certain artists who are like not in the right like environment scenes, and I would be like, dude, just stop by LA.
Yeah.
Stop by LA, feel it out, and then they come here. We've had this happen like a couple of times. They come here and they're like, become talk of the town.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like there's a career here. You know, and it sucks that having to go to LA, New York, or Nashville is like that place. And essentially that's our goal, is to like kind of get destinations where we can be there and be like, no, this is cool. Continue working on it.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that so heavily.
So, but yeah, we've done that a lot. And with Katie, you know, Katie's great. She did put out music before the photography stuff, but she, you know, she focused more on the photography art.
And she kills the photography stuff.
She's
incredible
shooter. Oh my God, she's so good.
So good.
But she got in these rooms, and I imagine she just like learned a lot and built the confidence up there. And you know, she's an insane songwriter. You know, like Cameraman is such a
so good.
But it took like 8 people to convince her to do the show, and now she has this new, you know, energy toward it. And it feels so good and natural, and like, that's once again, that's the type of space that we want.
That makes us happy.
That
it's
makes
like
us happy.
when we know that like, oh, we just connected dots for 2 people to like help continue doing something that
totally feel you.
is good for the world.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't matter about selling out shows. Like, selling out shows is nice, but like, you know, my favorite shows are the ones that don't sell out, and there's the right person in the room.
Yeah.
Just this is awesome.
I totally feel that, dude. I remember the point where, and this is when I was still in the Bay Area, but I remember the point where I realized that artists that we had interviewed but not introduced each other were finding each other from the interviews and then working together.
Yeah, it's great.
And that like brought like a tear to my eye. That was the coolest shit ever, dude. It's like things like that.
Yeah.
Like, or I was at the last show at the Shed this weekend, and some kid
Shout out Bobby.
And some kid came up to me and he was like, dude, like I started going to this venue because I saw your video on the Shed. And that made me want to like, just like cry, because that's it. That's everything, you know. It's like trying to find
that kid was you.
Yes.
10 years ago or what? Or, well, actually, for you, it's probably like
4
years ago.
For us, it was like 20.
For us, it's 20 years now.
Like 100 years ago.
Like 100. Yeah, no, but
it's starting to feel like Biden now.
No, but it's so. But that's so fun, and it's always fun to get that recognition. Like, you know, speaking of which, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Like,
thank you guys for coming on.
Being such a fan. But yeah, no, it's nice to get that recognition and just be like, all right, like this is worth doing. Because there's been plenty of times him and I were like, I'm done. Like I just can't.
Yeah.
We quit very often every year. Just mentally, we just
at
quit.
least one of us does.
At least one of us does. Just like, fuck it, I'm done.
And then it's
I'm
just
out.
convincing. Like it's literally convincing each other.
Then one of us books a show, and the other one goes, "Fuck, okay, yeah, I'm back."
Yeah.
It's like that cool Grand Theft Auto meme. Oh shit, here we go. It's like it's fun, and like what's so cool now is that we're expanding our. It's like we're expanding in ways where we're putting out music. We're not a label.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this on record. We are not a label. We like to do one-offs, EPs. That's it.
Kind of like what a label does.
No, but like...
I know, I'm kidding.
We don't want to own mass
But
catalog.
like sling 360s and own like 80% ownership.
No.
I'm just kidding.
We don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
but it's cool helping out artists in that extent where it's like, all right, like... with these years, we have certain people following us, and now we're like hitting these people up, which I hate doing.
Yeah.
My whole thing is I want the relationships to become genuine. I never want to force anything down someone's throat.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's times where you run into like the Remy Wolves and the Deloitte LZ.
You're like, someone's got to hear this.
It's like, dude.
And you gotta put your finger on the scale a little bit, just to be like, yo,
Or
everyone,
afters,
everyone,
it's like...
everyone needs to like hear this stuff, yeah.
I literally went up to Graham and Justine, was like, after hearing Obvious and seeing the show, I was like, dude, if you just put this on DistroKid, I will shoot myself.
Yeah.
Like, please let me pitch this. Like, it's so good. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Like, that's so easy.
But a lot of people aren't willing to take that chance on anybody, for whatever reason. They don't see it as instantly profitable. They don't see it as like something that could like. But it's also, I think, is like
the instant profitability. Like that is something that like I think when tech came into the music world, instant profitability was on the lips of a lot of people because they're just like, cool, like now we want to be a part of this like cool stuff. I mean, you even look at like a hedge fund like BlackRock who invested in this music company called Hypnosis, run by a guy named Merculis out of London. When Merck brought BlackRock into it, I was like, this is the worst thing for music.
Yeah.
Because now you have like
a corporation.
Uber, well, not just a corporation, but you have
mega corporation.
Uber accountants.
Yeah.
Who, collectively own like what? $40 trillion around the world.
Yeah.
They're looking at music now like not necessarily for the cultural impact, but they're looking at it from like what's my ROI in 3 years?
Yeah, shout out to Merv and Hart.
No.
Shout out to them.
It's like that's when it gets like, ugh, like you don't.
Yeah.
That's not what music is about. I mean, like there are plenty of case studies of like musicians who've like played music for 10, 15 years and they finally get their break, and it's the first time they ever see like
Chaperone right now.
Yeah, I mean.
Those songs are old, bro.
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Old.
And she's finally, she's having her moment, but it like that's what it takes. And like I think going off of something that Jeff said earlier, it's like it's not just like having good songs, but it's also like who's the last one standing, like who's the person,
or just waiting your turn. It's like and like there's two great stories to this. There's the Death Grip story that I was told, and then there's the SZA story, where the Death Grip story was. They were at Island Records. They were, going to put out this record, and that kept on getting pushed back.
Yeah.
And they were like, they were fed up. They're like, no, we don't care. They're like, well, we're just going to drop it. We don't care. We're going to drop it at like 1 a.m. or some shit like that. And the label's like, oh, if you do this, like, you got to pay back up. You owe us big time if you do this. And they're like, fuck yeah. They did it randomly. And it projected about 19 times more than the actual projection that the label had by doing it last second, to the point where it got Beyonce's attention. Beyonce was like, how the fuck did they do this?
She found Death Grips?
Because it became such a crazy stat.
Yeah.
It's like, look, how did this happen? She goes to one of their shows, which is like one of my favorite photos ever. It's a photo of Beyonce... MC Ride or MC Ice. Is it MC Ice or MC Ride?
MC Ride.
MC Ride. Zach Hill. Their guitarist at the time, Robert Pattinson, who played guitar on that record afterwards. Okay. And then Beyonce and some random person. And
that random person's so pissed you didn't name him.
No. And that's where that photo came from. And she literally was like, how'd you do this? And he was like, well, fuck the label.
Yeah.
We just did what we did. And they started the last second drop. Beyonce, after that, released her self-titled that did just killed it.
Yeah.
Releasing it last second. And it started this wave of like Kanye and Kanye and Drake and all that. And it was all because of Death Grips.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So that's one story where it didn't go that way. The other story is SZA, where that record's so old. When it got put out, she despised it.
Yeah.
She hated it so much.
Are you talking about Control or the new one?
Control. But the label was right at that moment, and it did super well.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she, at the time, like, I saw her open up all these early festivals at like noon. I've been at Fun Fest, catching that set. And just being like, wow, this gal is on the same label as Kendrick. And, and now they were right. So there's times where it's like, the label gets in, the label doesn't. And that's like what you kind of have to show is like, hey, like what feels right, but also understanding like what music is right now. Like when I do A&R work and I'm talking to artists, when I ask them like, hey, what are you listening to? If they say something right now, I immediately become disinterested because it's like you're trying to catch this moment. What's the next moment? You don't think Dominic Fike's listening to like Mac Miller or whatever. He's listening to like the Beatles and like all this crazy stuff. Even with Remy Wolf, like Jared's he doesn't listen to anything new. Do you know how many times I try to send him something new? He hates it. He absolutely. That being said, if you're a new artist and you want to shoot your shot with Jared, don't do it. Not entirely true, but yeah. So when they say stuff like that, it's like, no, you gotta think of the moment. And there's times where an artist, like, we're working. We know an artist right now that's making really amazing music right at this point. I'm like, dude, try to get it out now before it's too late.
Before the wave ends. Yeah.
So. There's points,
but I think all this just goes to show like there's no formula or there's no way to do this. Just kind of like do what makes sense to you with the resources available. And if for whatever reason you catch a wave, great, ride that wave. And like,
if not, just wait it out. It'll come back.
Yeah.
Come back and you.
But also like
realize
don't wait too long because if you wait too long, there's
not one way to do it.
There's no one singular way to do it. You know, and it's like that's kind of what makes this world so exciting is that there's also no rules. You can kind of ostensibly do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah. And I despise when people act like they have the answers. Like they say, oh, put this out in this way at this time and it will do this.
Like you come to us and say, this is the way I want to put it out. And Jeff and I will maybe be like, well, sure, you can do it that way, but that's probably a really dumb way to do it. But like, don't let us tell you how to.
Yeah,
do things.
we also am wrong too, and we're totally fine being wrong.
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
it's
that's
great
cool.
To be wrong.
It is great to be wrong. It's not something
But hopefully you learn. Yeah, you
gotta
learn from the lessons.
The whole point is to learn and educate. And with this day and age, music is changing
every 6 months,
rapidly.
Yeah, so fast. Yeah,
it's to the point where it's like. It's fun. To me, it's fun. I get so excited. I'm like, what's this new thing that's going to happen? Because why is everything on fire?
Yeah. And I think you have to adopt that mindset at a certain point. Like that mentality where like you are embracing the waves as they come and you're just kind of riding them. Right. This is a totally different world. I'm a big baseball fan. There's a baseball podcast I listen to. And one thing they always talk about is like the ups and downs of being a professional athlete and how like you are doing it so wrong. Like where you have to be is like you can't let your head get too high with the highs. You can't let your head get too low with the lows. You got to stay somewhere directly in the middle and take everything as it comes. And I think there's a lot of truth to that in a creative career as well.
Oh yeah. I mean that could probably be said to almost any career.
True.
But also with both categories also fall on, they both need drugs to be interested. Bring steroids back to baseball.
I agree.
And also, like
think about this.
Jacob's making the best stuff, shroomed out his mind.
Have we had another McGuire since McGuire? No. Have we another Bonds since Bonds? No. Bring the PEDs back to the game.
Hey, I'll sit or center.
Actually, I was thinking about this watching the Olympics, and this is not an original thought. Let me preface that, but like, do you know how interesting the Olympics would be if you just bunch of roided out people just trying to like swim a 6-second 100-meter dash, whatever? Like, that'd be kind of like, look, fine, let's have a traditional, like a trad Olympics, right? Of just like everyone's genetic freaks, they all get to do their thing, but like let normies like trying to get involved.
They kind of have that with Beer Fest.
Let me
get really drunk and you're like playing sports.
Let me take this a step further. What if everybody in the Olympics did Molly?
I think they do in the Olympic Village. Isn't that something that they just do?
They just partying.
Which that pole vault guy just collects. slinging right now.
Dude, didn't I haven't thought about this since it happened, but didn't like one of the places COVID like one of the first big outbreaks was in the Olympic Village?
The Tokyo Olympic Village.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you get all these you get 10,000 people who are at the tip top of like physical fitness, whatever.
Yeah.
They have been cooped up for, I don't know, 6, 8, 12, 18 months or however long it was. And then, it just takes one person to kind of fuck that all up.
Yeah.
And for basketball and most sports, it was Rudy Gobert.
Oh, yeah, he coughed on the mics.
Yeah, he coughed on
he was like, ah.
And then he like touched all the mics too, right?
Ding dong.
Oh, he probably felt so bad, bro. That's so crazy.
I don't think he felt
No,
bad
man, honestly, that led to a string of really funny things as a Clipper fan.
Oh, you're a Clipper fan?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite moments out of all that is Lemon Pepper Lou.
What's that?
So we eventually lost our playoff position because one of our players left the Disney World place to get wings from a famous strip club. And,
wait, wings from a strip club?
Yeah, so that's where the best food,
dude,
like wings.
Some of the
I've never been to a strip club.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You said okay.
No,
I lived in Miami. I lived in Miami.
I was gonna say I've never been to one that's known for food.
See, here's the thing. Well, okay, so slight side tangent. Here, why don't you finish the story?
And then
I'll tell mine.
But
and then we'll discuss strip clubs.
No, but yeah, he literally he took a gamble of getting these wings and then coming back to the dome, and then he got caught. And he couldn't play those games, and that's why we didn't.
Was that Lou Williams?
Playoffs. Yeah, Lemon Pepper Lou.
I remember this.
He probably got wings. Was it from Magic City?
Yeah, he got wings from Magic City, and that was it.
So that's like a really famous strip club in Atlanta.
6 Man of the Year.
That has amazing food.
Yeah,
Magic City was the 6th Man of the Year.
Yeah. I think the Lakers won.
Didn't the Lakers win? They did win that year.
Lakers 6th Man of the Year. Magic City.
No, I mean, so I'm not a strip club person. I've never really been interested in being in that world, but okay. I lived in Miami for
cue video of Tim at 4 in the morning this weekend at a strip club.
I was at a bachelor party a couple of weeks ago.
Let's go.
No, but because there are cities like Atlanta, Miami, whatever, or Vegas that have such a high density, or even Portland, high density of strip clubs, right? And so how do you attract
crazy term?
How do you attract a client base, customers and stuff like that?
Wings.
Well, it's food. I went to
really?
When I was living in Miami, there was who was fighting? There was a big UFC fight. I think it was like Poirier versus McGregor, right? And I
remember that fight.
I didn't have that many friends in Miami because I just moved there, and I met this group of people probably a week prior, and I was like, hey, does anyone watch UFC fights? Like, anyone interested? And these people were like, oh yeah, you should come to us. Come with us. We're gonna go to a place called Tootsie's. And I was like, okay. I had no clue what Tootsie's is. Put it in my Google Maps, whatever, and I drive there, and I'm like, this is a really interesting spot. Like, first of all, parking lot like a Costco, like massive. Everyone and half of it was just all blacked out, service, like limousine cars, and whatever. I was like, okay, where am I? And I'm like walking up, and I'm looking around. Everyone's like kind of dressy, and also not dressy, if you catch my drift. And I was like, okay, you pay the fee to get it. And I was like, oh, this is a strip club. Am I at the right place? I'm texting these people being like, I just got to Tootsie's. Like, am I in the right place? Like, I don't see no TVs. I don't see anything. And they're like, oh, yeah, come to the back. There's like a bar. Like, okay. I walk back into the bar, and it's like a giant sports bar in the back. And, you know, all the waitresses are appropriately dressed for the environment, put it that way, right? And I was like, okay, this is kind of strange. And they were like, yo, you want something to eat? I was like, every time I think about eating at a strip club, there's a Chris Rock bit where he goes like, titties and tater tots don't mix, right? Like that's just his thing. Because like no one wants to go to a strip club at 3:00 in the afternoon to go eat like buffet food.
Yeah, sounds like you've never been a 13-year-old boy ever.
I just like that thought never entered my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know about like eating food. They're like, look, maybe you're just not part of this world, but like
maybe you're just lame.
You like food here is very good, and I'm like looking at the menu, and there's like blackened cod, there's lemon pepper wings, there's like some good looking food on there. I'm like, yo, there's no shot you're gonna catch me ordering fish at a strip club. Like that's even a little extra for me. So I ordered the wings, and let me say, some of the best wings I've ever had was at Tootsie's. And I was just like, this is actually kind of incredible. But they do that, and I actually got a chance to like peek into the kitchen, and it's run like a Michelin star restaurant. Like everything is like running very orderly, arms tucked in, white, like everyone's wearing like the white
like the button downs?
The button downs and stuff like that. And I was like, yo, this is run like, it's very organized. And I was like, why is this? Because there are so many strip clubs in the area, like you have to figure out how to attract people. People take meetings at strip clubs, which is a wild thing to think about.
In what industry?
Miami.
we had a totally different strip club experience. My strip club experience was, I was with my partner at the time, who's one of my closest dear friends now. And we just started the relationship. And when you're like just starting a relationship, you just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And even though you both don't want to do it, that was this situation. Her friend was like, oh, let's go to a strip club. And we're looking at each other, and probably in both of our heads, we're like, I don't want to seem uncool. Let's do this.
I don't want to be a party pooper.
We
I don't want to kill the vibe.
We go. And it was like this. It was so terrifying. Like just men in sweats. Being all weird. Yeah, dude, they were wearing sweats.
Wait, where'd you go?
I don't even know. It was one time. I hated every second of it. And there's even more to it that I'd like to not talk about. PTSD.
Jesus.
But it was just one of those like, oh my God. And you know what's great about all of this is that this is going to be cut. Because this has nothing to do with what we've been chatting about for the last hour.
No, we don't cut anything. This is all in there.
Cool. I will say, I've also had very pleasant experiences at a strip club with a partner, too. I went to...
I've heard this from a lot of people.
I went to the Kieran J. Callahan did his
album.
Oh,
that's so funny.
The Guitar Center?
No, he did it at Cheetah's, which is a strip club in Los Feliz.
Oh, my God.
And we show up, and my partner at the time, she had never gone to a strip club. And she was, I think initially just kind of like, what's the vibe gonna be like?
What is this?
And I was like, no, we're going for the music. And we show up, and Kieran is just like wrapping up, and I was just like, oh fuck, like, all right, cool, like we'll just bounce. And she was like, no, let's just like stay for a little bit and see what happens. I was like, okay, but like we're not gonna be the only people here not throwing bills. So I go over, pull out like 101s or whatever, and I give her a half a stack. I was like, all right, well, like, we'll just be here for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, grab a drink, and then like bounce. Next thing I know, I look over, and she's just like making it fucking rain on the walkway. And I was like, and I just hand her my second half, and I'm just like, all right, you look like you're having a lot of fun. Like, just keep going. She had a great time.
That's so funny, bro.
Well, that goes in the discussion. I love when artists play non-traditional places.
Oh, me too, dude.
And he did that specifically because he had this whole thing of like, loved being naked in front of people. Like I remember when I first started following,
kind of like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Just like that. When I first started following his Instagram, like his dick would be out, like just openly out, and it wouldn't be taken down because he wasn't big enough.
It was the Wild West at IG at the time.
Wild West.
It wasn't big enough.
Damn.
it was nice.
Nice piece.
It was a nice piece. No, but he did that.
Makeout music till it's too PL.
He would get naked at his shows all the time, and venues are not gonna do that.
Yeah,
It's part of the art. It's an artistic.
So he'd book those shows, but
Mac DeMarco did it too.
He's also so funny. He the story to Back to the Center, right?
Yeah, he did all the Guitar Center shit.
Yeah, he went to his label, was like, can I get 40 grand for gear? I'll return it back to you by the end of the month. And they're like, what? He's like, yes, I'll return it back to you by the end of the month. I'm going to go to Guitar Center, spend $40K on gear, and bring it back within a month just so I get a refund and I can give you back your check.
Limitation breeds creativity,
so
bro.
Fucking smart, dude.
Also, that album's amazing.
Yeah.
No, he's such a talent. And I just love that, like, you know, he's been around for such a long time. He was like John Mayer's guitarist for a bit.
Yeah.
He played with Mac, and he's in Mac's video game where you cut his hair.
That's so cool.
It's so cool. And I'm curious what his new batch of music, because I just loved his whole, like, I just want to be so silly.
Yeah.
I mean, his ethos is like, again, that's him building him building an environment and a community where they're just like, he gets to be the best version of himself, which is wild, crazy rock and roll mentality.
Yeah.
And like that is something that I think, the coming from the rock world, like there's a lot of rock bands who are missing that kind of like it factor of just like, yo, just go crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to like shoot myself in the foot here, but like, you don't gotta be fucking PC all the time. Like, be the crazy, wild rock and roll person that you want to be, because that is like, people want to live vicariously through people like that. And
as long as you're respecting others,
of course,
of course.
Just want to
like if you're gonna disrespect something, disrespect the hotel room that you're in. Pay for the damages, but like, fuck the hotel room.
Yeah.
Like, just put a baseball bat through that door, or whatever. Like,
it's a mega corporation. It'll be okay.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine.
I love that mentality too. Like the Beastie Boys literally had a budget for when they got arrested.
Yeah,
they would like pay them out.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Which is sick. And there's certain
Beastie Boys are good for like making that money back.
There were certain artists that did that recently. Junior Varsity did that.
Yeah. We just had Zach on the show last week.
Hell yeah, Zach is a sweetheart. Go Zach. But
shout out Zach.
Yeah, they did that. They literally like
a fucking weekend was like just that.
Yeah.
Those guys are.
Well, no, the Hollywood sign.
That too.
They actually got arrested.
I remember that. Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So
what kind of content are they?
getting from it? But there's so much cool ways to like hack the system, and I wish when they did that they made it more about them rather than this like random object. Maybe it was for legal reasons that they couldn't put the Junior Varsity, and they did the cow. I don't know the exact science around it. I want to ask Zach about it whenever I see him next. But there's like really cool like guerrilla. Warfare way of going to put out music and hack the system. And like Jacob did that recently. Deloitte. He was like, I want to refurbish this pinball machine.
So sick.
And instead of getting money from it, like people will just pre-save and save on the quarter that they would have spent on
and
I just I just want that, so we're like putting this pinball machine in all these like very poppin' spots and just collecting.
How's it working? Wait, so you have to like scan a QR code to play it, or
no? Well, there's someone monitoring. We don't have like that kind of technology where you just scan it and
just
it
a caveat. This pinball is from like the 1970s. Like it is a well-worn piece of
it's just
so
such,
cool.
it's just such a smart way. And there's certain artists that also, I forgot who did it, but like someone printed out like a QR code that looks like a parking ticket.
And
gave out.
That would fucking scare the shit
Gave
out
out everyone in LA, and people would scan it and go to the music, and they'd be like, "Oh, we just got." I mean, they got.
We got.
Yeah. They got. There's so many cool ways of doing that around that, and you keep on hearing it, and that's the best thing.
Yeah.
That's like literally the best thing. I really, really geek out on.
That's one of the coolest things about the internet, I think, is like people who have like found these super non-traditional ways to like market their music. Do you guys know the band Buddha Trixie?
Yeah.
They just like turn their Instagram into a meme page, and like, but like in the caption they'll like like slyly or just like minorly, just like.
I definitely see a lot of that on like TikTok. People have like this like TikTok content that they push.
Mind's Eye.
but they
Max Bennett Kelly.
They also they also have like either their music playing or like go stream my music, blah blah blah, whatever. I think these are all really interesting ways, and it's just kind of how the industry is moving forward.
Yeah,
I will say, for people who want this like quote unquote traditional way of making music and putting it out, like I'm sorry, but like for the most part that is kind of not around anymore.
Yeah,
like it's not like the 70s or 80s where you just like have really good music, send it to a label's like, oh, this is cool, put it on the radio, and all of a sudden you have a nationwide tour. It's very incredibly rare for that to happen in today's world,
unless it's kind of thought out, like Cindy Lee.
Unless it's kind of like but Cindy also has like a history of like having fans and stuff like that.
Also so cool.
Yeah. I mean, they have a fan base that allows them to like do it in that way. What I'm saying is just like, you can't just be, and this is maybe, you know, a detriment of progress, is like, you can't just be a musician sometimes anymore. You have to be a marketeer, you have to be a content creator, you have to be like all these other things that will ultimately like sometimes detract you from like pursuing the one thing that got you into this mess, which is creating art. You know,
I mean, I talk about it so much, but it's so weird that we're living in an era now where like musicians are required to be filmmakers. It's so strange.
It's
like
tough.
That's like a new phenomenon, and it's like, it's so strange the industry never like backtracked in a place where that became less accessible less accessible or like less of the norm, because it just became like,
well, it's capitalism.
It's capitalism. Yeah,
it's capitalism.
100%.
It's being able to extract the most amount of labor for the cheapest amount of labor. I'm sorry, the cheapest amount of the lowest amount of cost. Right?
For the most amount of labor.
For the most amount of labor. Like, that's just like straight up capitalism.
Yeah.
And, you know, for as much as I'm not going to get into politics, but like, but for as much as we want, you know, can hope or think of a better world for creativity and art, like, this is just the reality that we are in. And there's a certain extent where you kind of have to play the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like you got to go full game plan, whatever, but like, you kind of have to understand how the industry works, especially if you want to break the rules.
And there's ways of where it's like artists seem like they're breaking the rules and they're not, like Hotline TNT, you know, when they just did a bunch of live shows and had all their music out on YouTube. You know, and like that was like kind of like, in our weird way, that was like kind of like our Grateful Dead kind of marketing, where it's like, if you know, you know.
Right.
Which I think
it catches you know, it catches waves, but everything, just like as we talked about it like before, consistency, persistence. You just gotta keep on doing it, and eventually like it'll get to the right people and it'll become more and more of a thing.
I think that like that if you know, you know type of mentality is something that like has become more and more valuable in the age of TikTok and stuff. I mean, you kind of brought up University, and I think that's kind of what they did with the fucking Weekend, where they've like curated this scene of like really, really dope artists that you probably don't know about yet. I mean, now you know all of them because they were so good at curating them. But it's like at that time, you didn't really know them, but they were trusted as tastemakers. And I think there's so many people who like are amazing at doing that. I think there's so many scenes that do that so well. I would ask you guys, like, do you think that mentality has gotten less with the introduction of TikTok being like an industry-wide norm thing? Also, do you think TikTok was like a net negative or net positive, or how did you see it, since you kind of were in before and after? How did you kind of see it change things when it kind of became the new norm?
I think this is, I mean, TikTok has been a long time coming. There was a philosopher by the name of Marshall McLuhan who wrote a book called The Medium is the Message. And for the last 20 years, the medium has been, the focus has been on cell phones. And it's like, this is where we get all of our information now, right? So it only makes sense that you go from, like, say, Facebook posting, right, to Instagram photos, to Twitter, you know, 144 character clips, to, you know,
easier
TikTok.
And easier and easier.
It just becomes, we've become such a visual-based society that TikTok was inevitable, whether it was through Instagram Reels or Snapchat Stories or anything. Like, that's all, like, Marshall McLuhan said this in, like, 54 or something like that.
That's crazy.
Like, he's, don't quote me on that year, but, like,
he was like TikTok Riz Party in 2024.
he was, you know, he was this incredible thinker who wrote this great book that I had to read and write reports on when I was in college, and that I think it was inevitable that something like whether it was TikTok or something else, like that's just how the progress of this whole thing ends up being.
That just reminds me of Jim Morrison. He quoted about how like robots would be taking over music.
He said the Doors will be robots.
No, and it just reminds me of
They're gonna put a hologram
video.
of me.
No, the video of the Doors and Skrillex working together to make
That's
Breaking
crazy.
a Sweat.
Oh yeah.
And they use that sample, and I just thought I still think that's the coolest thing.
It's a very full circle moment.
Bridging the gap.
Bridging the gap and like just connecting the old guard to the new guard and like passing the torch, so to speak.
But also like for music, it's like good art's good art. Like you can go viral the next day and you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how to perform live. You don't know how to write the next track, and I like it's affecting labels more of a reason why they keep on changing their teams. And it's going back to like good music again now.
I totally
agree. The last couple of
agree.
years have been very like calculated and sure,
a lot of algorithm stuff,
dude. Yeah, and I could not agree more with that sentiment. And I think I find myself fighting that point a lot, and people who like aren't super. I don't want to say like I'm more into this than people, but like people who aren't super like going to shows every weekend and like really trying to find the next act. A lot of them just assume that because some bullshit blows up on TikTok that like there is no real art being made, which is just there's more good art being made now than ever, I would argue.
Yeah. Well, I think more people who have the ability to make good art have access now to put out that good art, but it's about who's listening.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down, or who's watching, or whatever you want to say. But like it's really it really boils down to like are you quote unquote speaking to the right people who can help bridge that gap between this being a hobby that you make in a really hot garage to the next level.
Yeah. You're definitely right about that, for sure.
Hotter wings, hotter questions.
Oh.
Above the bridge.
I've heard this one before. You guys see the BuzzFeed selling?
I feel like that's a copyright thing right there.
Did you guys see the BuzzFeed selling Hot Ones?
I did see that. I don't really know why, because I feel like Hot Ones, or it's not Hot Ones, it's First We Feast.
Yeah.
I feel like First We Feast is like one of the few things that's making them money.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm really interested to see how it plays out, because I think like I think the big thing in it is Sean Evans. Like I think
it's not the show.
It's not the show. Sean
Evans.
It's
all
it's
Sean
the
Evans.
fact that Sean Evans is one of the best host research. He's got an incredible research team too.
Yeah.
Shout out to like his research team, but like he has, it's about Sean. It's not about the show itself.
Which is why it's so interesting, because like if they sell it and he leaves, I don't think there's a show anymore.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing that I was thinking about a lot based on what I do, and this media landscape changing, where it's like now I think more than ever people are more inclined to follow individuals than they are
you mean like
media companies?
Influencer?
Yeah, an influencer. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like I think TikTok just perpetuated that. Which I think you're right. It already would have happened. It would have happened regardless.
Yeah,
but I think like
it's a natural progression of like how things are.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%. Talking a bit more about your guys' origin and the venue specifically. So I know there's Bader House, and Bader House goes to your new spot. And I know before that, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were throwing shows, but just at other spaces and stuff. What kind of like was the big leaping off point when you were throwing shows with other people at other venues? When did Bader House come into the picture?
Oh man, so
I used to Spotify show.
So yeah, there's that. I used to throw shows in my backyard, and we've had a lot of really cool stuff there in the past. And eventually we had certain artists come in, and one show in particular, they had like a whole film crew, and one of the guys, Jack Sweeney, was part of the film crew, and he's like, after the show, he's like, hey, like I have a commercial like living warehouse space where I threw a show and I want to throw more shows here. And so funny, the first time we meet to talk about it, we both had a miscommunication of like, are we meeting up at my place? Am I meeting up at his? He goes to my place, I go to his. And then we FaceTime each other at the exact same time, in which at that point, like, Boa Heights, like there was an actual junkie in the like the hallway. No, not in the alleyway. The actual hallway.
Inside the building?
Yeah, shooting. Like they were shooting up as I'm waiting.
Like, yo, you live here, bro?
I'm literally looking at her in the eye, and I immediately call Jack. I'm like, hey, where are you, bud? And he's like,
he's like, oh yeah, that's my roommate.
And I'm like, I was just like, at first he like, you know, he eventually comes over and he opens up and he shows me this giant blank canvas space, and I looked at it, and it just brought me back to the FYF days of like doing these non-traditional shows. I was like, all right, like this seems way, and like at that point we couldn't get agents to even acknowledge us.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to be fair, from their perspective, they're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah,
like we were talking to Still Woozy before Still Woozy, and like Sven wanted to do it.
Barry a legend.
And he just like, yeah, we were chatting about that. He wanted to do it, but his team was like,
yeah, who are these people?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And,
which again,
for sure,
fair. Like
we got it. Like them, Young Bay. Like there are a lot of huge artists that are now huge artists. Like we were chatting with. But it's just solely because it was a backyard. So in my head, I'm like,
Bobby talks about the same thing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a warehouse, we could kind of win people over with that. And it was so janky. There was no AC. You think this is hot?
Oh yeah, the first spot was.
Holy cow!
So you guys are used to it.
The first show we weren't even there at the first show. Like 2 people like had like passed out.
Whoa.
You know, and we were like, this is unacceptable.
Real fucking rock and roll.
And there was no stage, no anything. And that first show, the first show that they had was, it was like Derek Ted. What was that one band that like they like opened it for the Rolling Stones recently?
Whoa.
Who? No, dude.
Like
the Lindas were probably not born when we did the show.
No. But,
you're probably right.
I forgot who they were.
Like in kindergarten.
I'll come back. But basically, I was just like, all right, maybe this will be a way for.
Dude, I know exactly who you're talking about because I remember, I can see the flyer in the old bathroom.
Yeah.
It was right there.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It'll come. But basically, we were just like, all right, let's move into this place, and maybe people can take us a bit more serious. And obviously, they didn't. We had like a plank stage, like, you know, the QSCs on subs that didn't work, and on a board that like would give out every second.
Clouds in the sky.
And we just had to like, you know, we took every show and we invest like every money. Anytime we made money, we always invested back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even right now, it's still that. Like you know, it's not like we're paying each other out and like all that stuff. Not yet.
Coming soon.
You know, so it's like
TBD.
We'll see. At that point, you know, we threw shows in there and people took us serious and we invested wisely and got nicer stuff. And, you know, it took some time.
It's a slow process.
It took some time because it's, you know, it's not like we had the money on us like off the bat then.
Yeah. I think that's one thing for young artists to also learn too is just like this shit takes time.
Yeah,
like,
it takes so much time.
You can't rush it.
You're gonna make so many mistakes and that's totally fine.
And you should be learning from those mistakes and make sure that like, okay, once you learn, okay, this is something I shouldn't be doing, don't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
And that'll only just help, you know, build you know, a better story.
But yeah, eventually, you know, like when I got full ownership of the space, because it used to be Jack Sweeney, which we love Jack Sweeney. He is the heart of Makeout. He is the best guy.
Him and Lucas. Jeff and I are turds in Makeout music.
We're nightmares.
But Jack and Lucas are sweet boys.
Biggest sweethearts. But basically, once Jack left, I was like, all right, I have freedom because I wanted to do so much weird stuff to the space.
Yeah.
I found a prop microwave the size of a minivan that they told me. So there's a place called EcoSet here in LA.
Okay.
Where you can get, it's where movie studios leave their props for free. And you can just grab them. You can grab them. They're free. It's depending on certain things.
What's it called?
It's called EcoSet. It's in it's by Atwater. Yeah, it's by the Atwater area.
That's crazy.
And at one point they had a giant microwave, and they like told me the measurements.
I wonder what that was
seems
for.
like it would fit perfectly.
Complain mom's microwave.
Well, we were gonna call it the microwave because it was so hot. We didn't have AC.
Yeah.
And the prop looked so cool. but they lied about the measurements. It was too big.
Too big, yeah.
And we ended up having to take it out. And then I was like, all right, like, I'm just gonna make, I miss the days of having the show in the backyard. I'm gonna bring the backyard inside. So I put grass on the stage. I made it look
Built
like
the
a
house
craftsman
set.
home.
Dante, you never
so
saw
sick.
the old spot, right?
I saw it.
Right, because I think the first time you came, we were still throwing shows at the old spot.
Yeah, I went to one show at the old spot. It was the Karuk show.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Blew my mind.
Oh my god, that was a show that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, when that show came to us, I was like,
October 2022.
We were like, I was like, oh, I love the agent. The music scene's kind of cool. I don't really know. Saw her live. I was blown away.
Crazy.
And I remember Michael. Has Michael been on this before?
I came. No, I think Michael was a couple different times. He's supposed to come on, but we'll definitely get him. Hit him on actually.
Yeah. So Michael was there.
So I went to that show with Michael.
Yeah,
he took me. Yeah,
it's so funny because when
Hanano.
Yeah,
Michael. No.
There was a point where later that year, or a year and a half later, maybe 2, a whole article comes out about TikTok cringe, and she was the face of it. And I just remember reading, Michael was the top comment, being like, saw her live. Trust me, wanted to be like everyone else and count this out. Saw her live. She blew me away. She is a true artist. And same here with me. I was like, wow, she is literally, insane. It's like watching, I'd imagine, if Bo Burnham.
Yeah. But mixed with so many other crazy things.
Just such a talented writer and everything. Maybe, and that's what
the
live,
moments, bro.
That's what live does. That's what good live music does. It will
transform.
Yeah. And you'll understand it. And there's times where you need to see it live, and there's times where you don't need to see it live.
Yeah.
And so, that was one show that you were so. Honestly, we were all so lucky to have seen.
That was, I think, the second or third show I ever went to in LA was that show.
Oh yeah,
I had
just gotten to LA.
That was the week I moved here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was that show.
Yeah.
That was dude. It was so crazy. I went because Gabby was on the bill, Julianne.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Michael at the time was managing her, so I went with him to that.
Got it.
But I went to the old spot. What was kind of the progression of that spot? How long did it last in its entirety? And was there a point where things started to click, and was that kind of where Makeout music took a turn into the venue space? Was it originally?
We moved in there in 2018.
We moved there 2018. The sign is still there that says Makeout Music 2018. We still have access to the old space.
Yeah, we have friends that live in that spot.
Cool.
So we'll and they throw dance events sometimes, and we'll go in there and be like, oh, this is strange.
It feels very different.
And then
very different.
But we were in there for a while, and then eventually an opportunity came where it's we thought we were going to get this one space that was in the same building, a little bit down. It would have
been awesome.
It would have been awesome. It would have fit more people. It had a huge balcony that could have guests and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We really wanted it, but it ended up going to a complex mate who called dibs on it first.
I mean, it was built as a photo studio. And he's a photographer.
No, it wasn't.
I thought it was a photo studio.
I've been in there.
No. It wasn't a photo. It wasn't a photo studio.
Is in the same building, right?
No, different. That was my. That was a different.
Yeah, that's a different.
You guys had a big photo wall in the old spot, right?
We've
moved around a little bit.
We've moved around a bit. But basically, we wanted that spot. We ended up not getting it, which honestly worked for the best because there's the building next door where it has less people who
even
there.
Before all that, I think after doing shows in Jeff's living room and having the green room be his bedroom, that takes an emotional and mental toll after 4 years.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And it's just, it wasn't Jeff wasn't the most. I mean, he still isn't, but then he wasn't the most sane person.
Oh no, I'm way more collected now than ever. And that had a lot. It's funny because when we got the new spot, I had to live in there because the deposit was so much money. I had to live in there for 3-4 months.
Yeah.
In which it was just.
There's just a lot of things happening.
It was just a lot of funny things happening in there, and but we moved over because we're all right, I'm tired of living in a place where I work.
Yeah, it's so much.
And
it's tough.
I do it. Yeah, I feel you.
I mean, at least you have a separate.
Oh, I love this. Yeah.
It was so funny too because the other space was cheaper. It was cheaper. It was like, oh my god.
That makes sense. I think just because it was more buried like in the building, right? You had to go through the hallway and stuff to get there.
Which honestly, like, that just adds to the mystique of the
cool.
show.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, it was also well, we figured out, like, trust me, when we got the new space, we really figured out all the kind of kinks to it, because like at first, like the door in the front used to be our front door, and people would hang out there, and I just didn't, like.
The setup
imagine
now
doing
makes
like
so
many different, just having like the amount of shows we have and having people just sit out there, it just wasn't helping out Boyle Heights, and it wasn't helping out.
Yeah, I mean, we needed to figure out our own operational kind of security of like how, again, to control as many aspects of a live event as we could. Mm-hmm. That was really the most important thing for us.
No, and and just also, but once again, also respecting Boyle Heights.
Right.
It's like when we have that many people out in front, it just causes a lot of commotion and whatnot. So we built the entry in the back and just brought it back to where it used to be, because we never we still at that point never had complaints. Until someone else was having shows and we were blamed because our name was on it.
Which is so terrible.
I'm glad that they did it, because we were able to get those guys out of there. Like, we care about the neighborhood so much. Like, we like, I actively just like always check in on our neighbors, and like,
that's cool.
I'm part of their parties, and like also let them know, like, if they need to use our space, they can.
That's
and like
awesome.
It's just,
you have to. I mean, that's huge. Yeah.
Well, that's just what community is. It's not just the musicians, the people who attend our show. It's everyone,
so
everything around it.
Us. Yeah.
So we did our due diligence, and still, like, now we throw most shows, and we haven't had any complaints. And when we had complaints, we were able to fix them very quickly.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much you can alleviate through conversation.
Oh, easy.
Just having a conversation. Who knew?
Right?
Who knew? Just like,
I mean, that's so much of the ethos of this show.
Right.
Is just like finding similarities in people that you wouldn't think you had similarities from. Like, I think I'm a infinitely more empathetic person, an infinitely better person, because I have these conversations.
Yeah,
and I have been able to understand so many experiences that I probably wouldn't have understood, otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's how you, honestly, those are the best people. Like, those how you can easily kind of suss it out. And I'm just so glad that things have changed, because back then putting on shows, it was not like that. It was a very scary,
it was a high stress environment.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for a bunch of kids who we didn't really know what we were doing.
Oh my god, just being,
it's kind of trial by fire.
18
to a certain point, we're still trial by fire.
No, it's but once again,
but we have a process.
It's a lot better place than it was when we were going to shows, and it's just like, and that's why we feel good, and like we love doing the all ages, because it's a lot way safer. Oh my god. That's kind of how we have our space, and our goal is, once again, like I brought this up, is to eventually expand to other places that have a lot of creatives, but not a lot of outlets to
infrastructure
show that creativity. So that's our kind of goal with that, with shows and down the line. But other from that, like, Tim and I have picked up management, taking on clients like Jacob, and we've helped out a lot of artists on the way, getting better at that job as well. And
speaking on the neighbor thing and the Jacob thing, can you real quick tell the story of how you guys found Jacob?
So this happens.
Just caveat: Jacob is Deloitte LZ, one of our management clients.
Incredible.
So, and like, this is, once again, you ask everyone. If they're making music, and if you like, just pass it along. I love demos. I love demos more than anything. Like, I have a whole treasure chest of demos, and I want to collect every demo in the world. That's it.
Yeah.
And so with Jacob, in between the venue and where I live, there was a cheese and pasta storage unit.
Wait, storage unit?
Storage unit. Yeah, they would like get all these,
put cheese there,
cheeses and pastas. They would curate pastas, and
my mom's got one of those in the backyard.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
All throughout different parts of.
Every Italian just has a pasta storage unit in their backyard.
But no, but yeah, he was a guy that was working there, and he was always super friendly, and we always chatted. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play the space soon." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I live in Boyle Heights. I live with this really cool artist, Estelle Allen. I'm in her band. And
I didn't know this part of the story.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm
bassist or something.
Yeah, I'm playing in the band, and I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I can't wait. I'm super excited. Thanks for the cheese and butter.
Oh, he brought you cheese and butter?
Always. He was so nice. So nice. He never brought up anything. He never brought up his project until like way later. And then
it wasn't until our friend, another person involved with Makeout Music, Aika, she had put together a bill of like songwriters, and Jacob's name was on there. And we're like, oh, Cheese Man's playing.
Cheese Man.
Didn't know Cheese Man had his own side project.
Well, no, that's what we call, and eventually like
Cheese Man.
I had the music a little bit beforehand too, and it was really interesting because I've never heard anything like it. It was like a weird, like his music is just this plush, atmospheric,
so unique,
like out of this world country music. And it was really hard to put. I loved it. I was like, but I was just like, how will this translate live?
Yeah.
And he did that showcase. I'm like, oh man, this guy can sing. Oh yeah, when Jacob started playing, I remember being outside with our boy Max, and I was like, who's on right now? Yeah. And then I think Max was like, I think Jacob from next door is on. I was like, the Cheese Man? And I like walk inside and he's belting out his songs.
Yeah.
I was like,
in which they're so good. Okay. And Tim and I really looked at each other and we're like, I was like, dude, we gotta get
and Jeff was like, I'll send you the music, and I did not listen to it for like a week.
And
Jeff kept bugging me too.
I kept on bugging. I did bug you about that. I was like, oh no, you gotta listen to it.
I was like, okay.
And then we listened to it and we got to know him a bit more, and the man is just such a fascinating guy. He's lived so many different lives already. It's such a he just turned 28, but he's lived like 1,000 lives, which he's like escaped death. He's lived in Florida. He's built a lot of crazy stuff. He's just been surrounded by all these like just wacky people, and for him to he
grew up in Florida. So enough said.
But yeah, he sent over the music, and we were just like, oh man, this is insane. And it took a couple months. And
he initially was like, I just want to put this music out into the world and let's just let it be. And I think Jeff and I were like, no. You can't. We won't let you do that. Because there's something here that deserves to have the story told in a way that, we need to play the game a little bit.
No, he found his pocket. And it was more of just like, all right, like how will this translate even more? And so we booked him, we started booking him random cool gigs. Like he opened up with Tyler and
Holy Dose.
Tyler and Holy Dose. Well, no, Tyler from Black Country New Road.
Whoa! Oh yeah. So they were doing like a secret set before
Coachella,
before their Coachella thing. And we had Jacob,
partner.
Yeah, Tyler and Rashid.
Yeah,
I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Rashid, they were like, hey, like we want to do some last minute stuff. Like, can you put us with some people?
Can you make us a bill? And
so, Jacob played.
Yeah, we had Jacob, which was more into the electronic element of it, and it was like, oh, this is really
something special.
It's something. It's to the point where it's like he's done 4 shows, and he, the first time I saw him permanent compared to the last time, he brought like over 100 people for that set, and he sold like over 100 tickets.
It's the kind of thing, if you see once, you will never not go again.
Yeah. Like or even if you don't go again, you will remember that set.
It sticks with you, and that's what like usually we've worked with artists and we're like, all right, like we don't feel comfortable sharing it with agents just yet because we want it to be perfect. There's a lot of time and a lot of practice, and that's what our space is for, is practice.
Yeah, right.
So but he picked it up so quickly and got the band and his lights and all that stuff.
To his credit, though, he's also been playing music for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's been writing for.
But he also he works so disgustingly hard.
He's
constantly.
He's like a perfect mixture of like hard work, very creative.
Great person.
Extremely
good person. Yeah.
But yeah, he was ready for that in the last show, last Digital Twang, which is
you were there, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. You coming to the next one?
Yeah,
September
it's 8th,
9th?
right? 9th?
September
9th.
It did so well, and now we're kind of bringing it back, in which, as we talked about before, it's like we bring certain our elements and he brings certain his, and the one thing that he brought to me that I just can't stop listening to, of course I'm going to plug her, is Adriana McCassin, which, if you're listening now and she's not on the bill yet, she's on the bill.
Yeah,
that's the secret act.
When does this go out?
When does this go out?
It won't go up before that.
Okay.
Oh, it won't go out? Oh, well, you'll know.
Wait, will it? No. Before September 8th? Probably not, right? No. Yeah, probably not.
September 9th.
9th, sorry.
Honestly, that'd be cool.
I mean, that could be kind of cool. I don't know if maybe you should put out Jacobs before the 9th and then ours.
Yeah, you should definitely put out. Yeah,
we're flexible.
Prioritize him.
Jacobs.
We suck.
We don't need to be prioritized.
Please, we should never. We're never prioritized.
No one wants to listen to this.
No one, absolutely not.
It's not because of you. It's because of us.
It's so funny because this is the first time Tim and I have chatted longer than 2 hours and not bickered at each other.
Aww.
I know.
We're in front
of guests. You guys are like a married couple.
I know.
Dude,
that's
so many people tell us it's just like you guys like talk like an old married couple because we just go
all
back
love.
and forth.
Aww.
All love.
I think it's just we were very used to like working together and like we've figured out how to work with each other because we also both work in very different ways.
Absolutely.
We are very different.
The best way to say, and bring this up all the time, is Tim and I are the same age. We're supposed to be in the same grade. He went a grade up. I went a grade down. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I went to college. He didn't.
That's truly all you need to know. But it's just that.
On the same token, he curated a Coachella Instagram page. And you didn't. Yeah.
I mean, look, for all the yapping we do at each other, like I do think we do complement each other in ways.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And there are a lot of creative strengths that I don't have that Jeff like excels at.
Yeah.
And then I think conversely, there are things that like Jeff is maybe lacking.
Organization, you know.
Sanity.
Sanity being number one.
Logic.
Organization two. Logic. Gotta throw that out the window.
So I think we found I found a working business partner that like we can just like spitball. We'll throw 10 things at each other. We'll both throw out 9 of those things, but one of those things is
this makes sense. We have fun. You know, it's like we really do. Like we have so much fun, and it's like I think when we bicker, it's so fun. We get on each other's nerves for fun all the time, and it's great. That's like I love that kind of relationship.
How did you guys meet?
So we went to the same high school.
Oh, what?
We went to the same high school, but again, because there was an academic disparity between the two of us.
Crazy way to say that.
I couldn't word that at all.
Academic disparity.
I mean, look,
wild.
there's an academic gap between us.
You made it worse.
We didn't. I mean, we were not. We didn't really know each other while we were attending art school. Or high school, but it wasn't until I was out of college at the time. It was at a Dale Earnhardt Jr. show.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the El Rey.
Mm-hmm. Is that the El Rey?
I was sorry, Mom and Dad. I was fried out of my head. I was with a friend from Davis, and we had been smoking all night, and we were standing in line waiting to get in, and I think I turned back, and I see this goofy looking motherfucker behind me, and I was looking at him, and I was like, I think I know that guy. Why would I know that guy?
No,
I'm from college. But I think our high school was small enough where you kind of know everybody. You don't know everybody because it's still 300 or so people per grade.
We know of everybody.
But you if you hear a name,
you hear a name.
Yeah. And also what benefited too was one of his good friends. His older brother was a friend of mine.
Gotcha.
So there was, there's a weird third degree of separation.
And that's how we connected, or that's how I heard your name, is because I was just starting in the music world, and Trent was like, "Oh yeah, Tim Chin, you should talk to him." I was like, "I don't know who that guy is," and then I just kept on seeing you, and eventually I had the courage to be like, "Hey, dude, I heard you went to La Cañada." No, it was. I it's funny because I throw shows, and you think that I would I just can talk to anyone, and that I love all that.
He can.
I don't know.
internally, Jeff definitely feels very differently. But Jeff is one of those people where I feel very confident. If I went to a party with Jeff and I was like, hey, Jeff, I got to go talk to some people, like, find your way around. Like, he's one of the few people I know where I could just, like, toss him into a social situation, and Jeff will find his way. He's not going to be comfortable. Oh, no. He's going to be incredibly anxious the entire time.
Absolutely.
But he'll
find his way.
He'll find his way. He has incredible ability to, like, be like a social chameleon, you know?
Yeah. But once again,
he's like nervous to talk about it.
I just don't. You know, it's like, and it's like a lot of people, you know, and I always get nervous whenever I throw events because I'm like, I just want everyone to have a good time. And like, to the point where, like, I'm in the crow's nest majority of the time because I'm just like, I can't be around this many people.
And then I'm like, where's our door guy? Our door guy has left the building.
He's like hiding.
Just hanging with. Well, shout out to Antonio Banderas.
Shout out Tony.
Shout out Tony.
Antonio Banderas.
Honestly, we should spend the last hour just talking about that little guy.
Oh, Tony. Tony's the heart and soul of Makeout music.
Tony's the glue. Tony is the glue that keeps us all together.
He answers the emails.
He answers.
He does answer.
He's our assistant. He is our. He answers our emails, which is why we never get back to emails.
Yeah. And if you're listening here for the first time, Antonio Banderas, not the actor, is a small wiener dog who just lives with me at the venue.
Oh, look who decided to show up.
And
he's just going to be straight into the camera.
Look at that.
Is this a cross? Are we crossing episodes?
Cross-pollination episodes?
You came right after they talked about you for 20 minutes.
We've just been full-on glazing you for the last 20 minutes.
Your ears were burning, right?
Yeah. I was in the car and I was like, oh my God, I'm on fire.
I think that's just because we're in the valley and it's fucking hot.
It's hot, bro. It's hot.
Honestly, I kind of like it. I'm like shedding off all this weight I've been trying to get rid of just sitting in here.
Think about how skinny I am sitting in here.
Dude, I know. That's what I was about to say. Dude, I want to look like you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I sit here long enough.
Jeff's penchant for pasta and pizza and carbs, though, I think overrides.
Nah, I feel you on that, bro.
But no, look, Jeff has been very more or less consistent with the keto diet. You've
really?
Pretty good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
You've lost 40 pounds.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah. No,
December.
It's
good.
No, it's definitely, it's definitely a thing. It works.
Yeah, you look good. Fuck yeah.
Oh, you got some.
Oh,
yeah.
The Easy Rider with the koozie.
They didn't read my rider. Tony sent my rider and they ignored it. I wanted a Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, Tony sent that over.
I asked for a martini and they just didn't have a martini.
I wanted that.
Can we drink a beer on the?
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'll take a beer.
You guys want a koozie with your beer?
Oh, bro.
I think we need a koozie. I think just
just branding.
You're an amazing soul. For people who can't see, Jacob walked in and has a mini cooler of beer. Let's fucking
in preparation
go.
for his own podcast.
And once again, Jacob is Deloitte
LZ.
Deloitte LZ.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. Thank you.
God bless you.
Clearly
Thank you, brother.
I wish.
Delightfully tacky.
Shout out Pappy and Harriet's.
Ooh, I got a Hooters one. Is this like a Midwest beer? What is it? What beer is this?
I don't know. A friend of mine
Never seen this.
had
Easy Rider.
studio opening, so he just hit up a bunch of like beer distributors, and they just dropped off like a pallet of beer to his studio. So he literally is like, please take a 12-pack whenever you come.
Oh hell yeah!
I'm just getting hooked up.
This tastes like a lager.
Let me give the live review. Let's see. Ooh, dude, a beer tastes so much better when it's hot outside.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's the only time you should really be drinking beer.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I drink so little beer now because I just get really bloated. And it's just a lot of like carbonation.
It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff can't drink any beer.
I'm sorry, brother.
Allergic to tannins.
Yeah, I'm
That's tough.
to it.
That helps with the keto diet.
It does.
It doesn't because this guy can drink vodka like a fish.
Yeah. Well, shout out to White Claw for making me just chill when I drink and not just go off the rails.
What do you guys so moving into the new space?
Mm-hmm.
What do you miss most about the old space? Like I would imagine there's so many amazing memories tied to that location. And I mean just speaking from my own experience, there's like an amazing memory tied there. Is there any magic there that like you guys miss a lot? Like, what was the biggest challenge to kind of like bring the energy from the old one into the new one?
Well, we have a air conditioner now, so that really.
Well, the other spot had.
We eventually got an air conditioner. Jeff, you answer.
Yeah, let me grab this one since I lived in there.
He lived.
Well.
No, it's. I still tear up about it because I miss that place so much and like how much we've built and like also attachment issues as well. It's like it was really hard to say goodbye to that space. And when we did that quote unquote last show, which was with Sam Austin's, which ended up not being the last show there.
The last official show there. I
remember just sitting on that grassy stage, just beaten to a crisp and just like, wow. Like, because I owe that, I owe everything to that space. I owe, like, it's where everyone found some cool stuff, but it's where I found myself. And I can't thank it enough, and I think about it all the time. And, with this new space, like, once again, just, like, rebuilding those memories, it's hard to compete with the old, but at the same time, finding a lot of cool stuff and making a lot of friends has been keeping me together in that whole process. So no, it's been good, and like eventually like this, we're gonna hopefully outgrow this space and be a bit more traditional, but I'm enjoying every second of all of it. But I do think about that space a lot just because I don't know where I'd be without it.
It's home. It's always such a tricky thing to grapple with when you get to a space where you can move on from something that you once cherished and felt so strongly that like you would never get to even that point, right? I mean, like I think about that with this garage and like the fact that like one day there will be like an above the bridge office and we will no longer be in this garage that I've done 100 interviews in, and I sit in here and go insane every single day, and I'm sure you feel very similarly to the old spot. It's the memories that are tied to it that go so much deeper than the physical foundation of the place.
Of course. Borderline Stockholm syndrome. It's like I gotta grow and be bigger. But at the same time, fuck, this feels good.
It's hard to let go.
It's hard to let go. But no, it's great. I love the new space. We're just continue upgrading. It's cool to actually talk to agents and book shows with them and have them reach out and and also like just do more for the artist, because with the space it's like it's not just a venue, it's a rehearsal space, it's for music videos, it's a creative space. So it's cool to do all of that along with like just helping out artists more is like what's making me fall in love with the new spot.
That's so beautiful, bro.
So that's just how it's gonna go. Like the more the bigger space we have next, we're just helping out more artists, or like not even a bigger space, just a different space. We're just going to be helping out more artists and just do what we keep on doing, and hopefully once again like we migrate elsewhere and be able to expand that way.
I think that's all that working in art is. It's falling in love time and time again.
Well, it's learning how to fall in love with yourself. Or not, also with
that
yourself.
Too,
but like falling in love with this thing, because I think my memories of Makeout music when I first started joining, it was the first time I decided I wanted to do something for like to further my own career and not like go work for somebody else.
Wow, that's huge.
That was the first step in, I think, trying to achieve whatever that dream was supposed to be. Was by becoming a full-time member of like Makeout music, and because I think initially I don't know about Jeff, and I won't speak for him or anyone else on the team. I didn't think this would last this long.
I don't think any of us did.
I think we were just like, this is kind of a cool thing to be a part of, and like, we'll do some cool stuff, but like
we'll piggyback again, but just stuck.
And it's cool, it's not just the musicians who come in, it's the people like Max, like Max didn't have an industry job until he started working with us, and then he got all the other gigs. He, it's like or
even like meeting Steph, who was a tour manager.
Dude.
She was tour managing Man Wolves from Chicago, and then she was at the venue and really like really enjoyed her time. You know, we try and make it as a smooth and professional experience as possible for everyone who like walks in through our doors, especially if we're working with them. And you know, that's kind of how we met Steph, and then, you know, a couple years later she's joining the team as far as like as a full-time member. So
dude, I told Steph at whatever Makeout music show I was at last week or whatever, but I had this moment with Andy the other day where like I realized that I met Steph 2 years ago in passing, and didn't realize that I had met her again because like she was outside of the old space one time, and one time we just talked. We were both standing out there for there was a group of like 4 or 5 of us out there. We just talked to Steph for like an hour and a half, and just like they were just sitting there like smoking cigarettes, talking, and like I didn't realize, I didn't realize like that was Steph until like literally I was sitting on the couch with Andy and Mario like last week, and I was like, oh my god, like I met her the week that I moved to LA, but didn't know that was her, which is crazy.
Yeah. She at that point she wasn't officially part of the Makeout music team. You know, like she really deserves. She works harder than any of us. Wow. Like she's so great and such a vital person to Makeout music. But yeah, no, it's so cool to see, and like it didn't always start off that way too. Yeah, she really, like, you know, we just have grown together, and she like understands like her roles, and she exceeds, and she's just picking up as she goes, and you know, just like Max, like landing opportunities because of it. Like that's what we do. So like it's, once again, it's not just musicians. If you're someone in that is interested in this world and wants to like know more or like get an entry start, please reach out to us. We're always looking for help as well. So, but
it's beautiful. The community you guys have curated around yourself is something that I admire a lot.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's I think I keep glazing you on it, but I think like the reason I became so invested literally after the first show was because like my dream is to throw a venue or to start a venue in San Francisco. It's like my dream.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, look, San Francisco needs it.
Yeah,
they need it
hard.
They need it.
You know, the tech world obviously has changed the landscape of San Francisco wildly, and I will say, I think to the detriment of creativity, I think to a certain degree.
100%.
But I also think like with something like that, also, you know, there creates a necessity and a need for that kind of a thing, and for every reaction there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Yeah. So look, San Francisco over the last, I'd say 20 years, the main focus has been tech and the development of, you know, the San Francisco, Palo Alto, it's the cradle of the 21st century, right? All of, especially Western exports for technology have come from a, you know, 8 square mile part of our country.
7 by 7.
7 by 7.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just wild.
Well, I'm saying like Oakland. You know,
Oh
Oakland.
no. I got you.
You know, Twitter now has their headquarters there.
I feel you. I'm an East Bay boy.
So, you know, I think there's a very, you know, and that's like, it made sense why San Francisco leaned into that, but, you know, conversely, it has affected the creative space of San Francisco incredibly. You know, it's created a lot of difficulties.
It's hard, man.
It's hard. You know, prices are astronomical. The cost of living is, you know, almost as, if not more expensive than LA and New York. Yeah, you know,
it's crazy.
It's tough. But with every contraction, you know, requires a growth of some sort, right? So, you know, I think you should still keep that dream, for sure.
I mean, I'll never let that die. Like that's everything. It's like
just go to the Tenderloin and just go to some like YMCA, open up the basement, and be like, I'm throwing a show in here.
I've been to a lot of those, but yeah, no. But all that to say, you guys, incredibly inspiring. I love what you've built. It's an unreal thing, and I am stoked for the future of Makeout music, and I sing your praises very often. So thank you guys for finally doing this, and thank you for letting me bombard you for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I didn't want this to become like an Avengers movie. It lasted like fucking 3 hours, dude. The whole time I was sitting here just being like, oh god damn it.
Well, you know,
I got Makeout music to do an interview, and then went for 2.5 hours.
And it's like half of it's just stories of things that have nothing to do with the music.
Nah, dude, it's beautiful.
It's like
we talked about real strip clubs in Miami.
Dude,
whole spectrum of things.
Yeah, but hopefully anyone who's listening is kind of in a position like we were at a certain age, or how you are, or how all of us were at some point, And
if you've made it this far, I mean, like, wow, your attention span is gonna take you places.
Yeah.
Oh, truly. Yeah. No, for real.
Yeah.
You
2.5 hours of two nobodies speaking nonsense into a microphone. I mean, listen to Dante for sure.
Yeah,
don't
but
listen to us.
also like
Don't listen to me.
at this point, like you should have like DM'd Tim or I like, halfway through this, being like, "Hey, can we jump on a call?"
Yeah, can I just like not listen to this podcast anymore?
Yeah, it's like
I'm afraid to give them too many views.
I'm, you know,
They don't need that YouTube money.
Nah.
But also,
We're making a lot of money out of the garage. We don't need the
also-
YouTube money
dude,
at all.
I lost like 5 pounds just in this interview, sweating this.
Yeah, I don't think people understand. It's like 98 degrees in this fucking place.
But it's also gotten significantly better since we started.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
That's how you know you're talking for a long time when the climate
I can
changes.
see
with
shadows outside with the trees. You're like, oh yeah, the sun has been going down. But also, I mean, again, thank you for the kind words. But also, I want to congratulate you on what you've been doing as well. Like, I think, when you and I sat down for that lunch at Porto, shout out Porto's.
Shout out Porto's.
When you and I sat down for that lunch, however long ago that was, like to meet someone. I think you were what, 21 at the time.
Yeah.
And you had just moved down to LA, and you were like trying to figure out like, oh, what's the DIY scene down here, trying to get your footing, and to see that you've grown from like taking Above the Bridge from up north down here, and then like creating this monstrosity that you have now. I mean, like, it takes a lot of stubbornness. I think the same way Jeff and I are incredibly stubborn with like how we want to do things. Like, you're doing the same thing too, and it's it's great to see that there is another generation of what we were trying to do at that age. There's another generation coming in, and you gotta hopefully one day pay it forward.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the kind words.
Of course.
Thank you guys for coming on. Tim Chin, Jeff Bywater.
You can't play this.
There's
a copyright. It's a copyright strike coming.
Time to wrap it up, boys.
I got points on this song, actually,
You
so
got
you're
points
running
on
it
it.
up. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Tell them where they can, if they want to come to a show, how they can do it, where they can follow.
You can find us on Instagram at Makeout Music. Can he actually play this? Well,
Sure.
Okay, fucking
whatever.
You can find us.
We're
on
not gonna
Instagram.
make money off anyway.
Fair enough. You can find us on Instagram at Makeout Music. You can find Jeff and I's Instagram handles online somewhere.
My guy.
It's
guy.
my guy. Yeah.
How many underscores?
A lot.
30.
30. Okay.
Is it really 30? No, it's not 30.
No, you're only allowed 30, so it'd be
28.
less than that.
27.
27. No, 20.
No, because then you have guy. No, it's like 22.
My guy
Yeah.
is 5 letters, so you would have
25. 25. So my MY 25 underscore and then GUY.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's
Beautiful.
absolutely insane, actually. I didn't even think about how. And then mine.
Take it away, Frank.
Mine's just laugh
Thank
in a
you.
corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Laugh in a corner.
Get out of here.
Make out music. Much love to you guys.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much. Music matters.